Hey guys, what's up? This is NorbCam coming at you on this Tuesday. I guess the start of the Super Bowl countdown. I can't believe we've made it this far. Sadly, the Seahawks are not part of this equation, but it is what it is. We are into the 2-week prep that is the countdown to Super Bowl Sunday for Super Bowl. What is this? Super Bowl 55? Is that what we're in? Super Bowl 55? Is that what it is? Anyway, it doesn't really matter because we're not in it. No, we're going to break this thing down. I'm excited to get into this with another Coach's Corner with Coach Bill Marsh. We're going to look back and talk about some of the key games from this AFC and NFC Championship weekend, and maybe talk a little Seahawks as well. But obviously, right now, just want to get into it. I'm not in a suit today. Decided to go casual. We're kind of just hanging. But I'm actually wearing one of my favorite shirts. If you can't see this, this is this shirt I got from, at the time, it was called Fresh Brewed Teas. Gave it to me at one of our events, and it's this hybrid of Marshawn Lynch and Beast Mode, kind of faces melded together right there. I always love this shirt. It's one of my favorite ones. Marked a special time, obviously, during the Seahawks era. So it's always been a fond memory of the time when those two were on the backfield together. So. But we are into this period now, and we're going to get into these things right as we speak here. So first, I want to do a quick shout-out to my sponsor, Daniel Dovin of Dovin Real Estate. Yes, he's been partnering up with me. He said he would stay with me through the Super Bowl and hopefully beyond. But Daniel Dovin's an awesome guy, huge Seahawks fan, born and raised in Seattle. And so if you guys are in the market, or if you know somebody, like your parents or friend or anybody is looking to buy or sell a house in the Seattle area, please send them over to Daniel Dovin of Dovin Real Estate, 206-310-3362. And you can also find his description, link in the description as well. And he will hook you up. And if you set up a free consultation, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a Cortez Kennedy rookie card. All right. So thank you again, Daniel Dovin, Dovin Real Estate. So let's get into it right now. Let's bring on the star of the show, the star of Coach's Corner, Coach, the legendary Coach Bill Marsh. There he is. Coach, good to see you, man. How's everything?
Yeah, things are going great. I don't think I'm any sort of a star, but it sure is fun to be on the show with you, and I'm having a blast. And it's, I think the stress has finally gone away from what we experienced over the last few weeks. Now we get to look at, other teams as much as I wish it was us. But at the same time, it's still a fun time of the year being in the playoffs and, playoff season and everything else. So how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It was great to watch these games and not have any stress. They were good games. They were good matchups, And so I definitely enjoyed watching these games. Did the live stream thing as well with my dad. So we kind of took a break during the divisional round. But I said, Dad, you got to come back for the championship game and for, of course, the Super Bowl. So we're going to stream the Super Bowl. It was fun to do that on Sunday. So, it was good football. I can't wait to see what plays you've chosen out of that game. And there's a lot of controversy about how the game should have been called, especially that Packers game, because that was the closer of the two. So I can't wait to break that game down and see your thoughts on some of the key moments of that game. It's going to be fantastic. So Chef Jack Attack, who's always a regular on the show in the Super Chat, asks, are you doing calls? And that's a great transition. I was just going to say that. We are doing calls today, as we always do every week. If you want to get in on a live call, you can ask the coach any question you want. Just hop on the Discord.
Just about any question you want. We can talk live.
Just about any Let's question. Keep it within reason.
Good children watching this show.
But yeah, the Discord, if you want to join the show, you got to join that link right there. The Discord, we call it the NorbCord. Once you're in there, all you got to do is join the Extreme Game Day Party voice channel, and then I'll be able to pull you up into the show. So we'll take questions about midway through and again at the end. So get your questions ready and we'll get through as many as possible. Hopefully you guys got some good ones. So before we get into the plays, Coach, I guess let's start off with just maybe your thoughts on just how you felt the NFC Championship weekend was in terms of just the game of football. I thought it was very fun and entertaining. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I thought it was a ton of fun. You get a couple of the greatest players of all time that are playing, and there's all sorts of neat things that take place there. And it was just, I think you get to a spot where when you get to this point, you're going to end up with the best teams, and that's what you want. And you have one game that goes down to the very end with a great battle and some controversial calls, both from an officiating standpoint and from a coach's standpoint, and maybe from players do they choke? Do they not choke? And so it was, great from that standpoint. You got to see some fun action with teams that I think, oftentimes we say, well, this is tailor-made for what television wants or what the NFL wants. I think we had 4 teams that, if we're not going to have the Seahawks playing in it, those were the 4 teams that I wanted to see, just from a fan standpoint. So to me, it was absolutely entertaining to be able to watch it, enjoy it, and, then to be able to break it down a little bit. So yeah, I had a ton of fun watching it, without a doubt.
Yeah, Chef Jack Attack says good after I answer his question about us taking calls. I have an opinion about the Packers game. I think, well, Chef Jack Attack never is short on words or short on opinions, so I'm sure you do have one. It's going to be great to talk about. I see a comment, DJ Squabo, one of the regulars on the show, saying, love the setup, and I know he's talking about your setup. I must say, it is looking good, man. Not only is it looking good, but, we actually started this.
Coming alive. Somebody dropped the rock.
Uh-oh. Hold on to the rock.
Hold on, hang on to the rock. Who's dropping the rock?
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, look at that setup, man. It's got the neon Seahawk back there, Eastside Catholic with the celebratory Coach Marsh ball back there, a couple of Seahawks footballs in the background, and a couple of really nice audio monitors, I must say, back there as well. So yeah, it's a great setup. And we got the show started on time.
It's looking good. I don't know if mine's chromed out or what, but it looks green on one end, and it kind of looks a little Seahawk glow around it in the other end. So I don't know which view the audience is getting or the fans are getting.
Oh, it looks good. It looks good from my end. A nice green aura on the Hawk. It's all good. So
great.
So before we get into the plays, I know there's some other things you wanted to talk about, but again, you are the star of the show, Coach. I'm just the guy who just kind of is along for the ride. So I follow you. I follow your lead. So, Coach, I think before we jump into it, I got to remind people, because some people might be jumping on the show going, who's this guy? For those of you who are new to the Coach's Corner, or maybe some of you who have forgotten or maybe never heard the first episode, the reason Coach Marsh is here is because we go way back to, I think, 1995, when Coach Marsh was a young, up-and-coming coach with the Eastside Catholic high school program, and we just happened to be called to do they needed some video recording of their highlights of their plays, so they brought us in, and pretty much from that point on, that's where we combined forces. Mike, Lorraine, and myself with Quantum Productions joined forces with Eastside Catholic, and what's cool about it is Coach Marsh was always has been and still is a lover of all things media, film, music, and so we were like kindred spirits. We just love the same thing, and we just went to town creating some of the most amazing highlight videos I think a high school football program has ever had. So we had the honor of following your steps as you went from offensive coordinator to head coach, eventually even being there for a long time at Eastside Catholic, and we went through some good times and some bad times. And always wanted to see you win that state title. We never quite got that opportunity to, but we got close.
I'd definitely say they were above average. There weren't a whole lot of bad times. I mean, we had so much fun, and never had a losing season. We made it to the playoffs quite a bit, and had some great runs with a smaller team in the large classification. So a ton of fun there. And, I'm a big believer in video. I think one of the greatest things ever invented for sports is video, right? So that's what allows for a show like this to take place. But, you guys were YouTube and mic'd up before mic'd up took place. And, and I had the luxury of having a mentor that was, top 80 picture of him right back there before he passed away. He was ranked number 8 in the 20th century for high school coaches in the country by USA Today. And then I had a mentor for my high school coach, Sherman Smith, who was the running backs coach for the Seattle Seahawks and the Tennessee Titans, and close friend. And his son is Dylan McCullough, who's the running backs coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, when it comes to, I think credibility is a big thing. So, I love to watch people all over YouTube and watch their shows. And I don't care if they're 8 years old doing it or if they're a, 22-year veteran or anywhere in between. To me, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a way to do it. They've all learned different ways, whether it's from their dad or from their coach or from Madden or what have you. So, we all claim to be experts. I just happen to have been in the trenches on the field for the better part of 28 years. So I think I have some insight that's a little bit different from a little different perspective and kind of philosophical jargon, I guess it would be. So fun to collaborate and finally do this from that standpoint.
Yeah. So, after those years of working together, we had a long stint where we weren't working together because we stopped doing highlight videos for Eastside Catholic. You moved on from Eastside Catholic. And so a long stretch, we didn't really have anything connecting us. And then here we go, reconnected many, many years later. And here we are doing this show. And it's an honor, man. I look forward to these every week. So I appreciate your knowledge and wisdom and your passion for doing this. And I'm glad we can be going down this road together, man. So,
well, I do, man. I like to cut loose. I mean, it takes a little while to get warmed up. It's like a game, right? You get warmed up, you get ready for the show. You hope you're not going to pull a Thurman Thomas and not have your helmet there, but that's part of what you and I have done the last probably 7 weeks is I forget my helmet. I don't have something set and you get me ready and then we're 10 minutes late. So hopefully there's probably people that were thinking, geez, they won't be on until 5:20, and then they're going to come on and realize that they're 10 minutes behind today because we actually got started close to
I know. I think this is our first, almost right on the money start time. People are probably like, what's happening? We're not supposed to start for another 15 minutes. So, no, it's great. And I love your setup. It looks really good. It's great to see the evolution of where you started just a few weeks ago to where you are now, and I know it's just going to keep getting better. So,
yeah,
awesome.
I've got a big surprise coming up for us here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to have to tease you a little bit with what it is, but I think once we really put it together, I think I haven't seen anybody out there who's doing it. So I think you and I are going to have something pretty unique that's going to both draw people in and give people a little different vantage point. So I'm giving a little Joe Namath there. I'm predicting that it's going to elevate the coach's corner to a level that nobody else is doing anywhere that I've seen. And I've been trying to find something similar, and I have yet to find it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
All right.
And I think, Norb, I'm really looking forward to the off season from a standpoint of, I think we can really dive into what people in the super chat are asking for. Every time I read the comments, I read the comments from all the stuff we do, whether it's roundtable or even your shows or what have you. So I really take to heart what people are saying, whether it's in the super chat requests that they make there, or if it's comments, they make on your channel. And then I just look to see, who's kind of mentioning the most things that are kind of similar. So just know that as we go through this off season, I'm not just going to be randomly pulling out things that entertain me. I'm going to base things on what I think everybody out there is wanting to see. So again, I would recommend that people please, throw stuff in the super chat near the end. I mean, I don't see the super chat during the beginning or during the main stuff until we get near the end of it, or put it in Norb's comments, NorbCam's comments, or what have you, or in the Discord if there's places to put it there too. And then Norb and I can kind of look and really gear this off season around what you guys want to see, what you want to hear, breakdowns, you want to learn something. Whatever it is. Similar to last week when I brought something up, and I think a lot of people were like, "Well, that sounds made up. What is he talking about? I've never heard of that." So I got a quick little piece on that before we get started.
Okay.
Again, I think credibility is important.
All right. So what is that?
So basically, last week, and we'll make sure we got our little piece down here. So this guy, Bill Walsh, I think most people have heard of him. He's considered the genius. That was his nickname. And he had a concept called the Texas route. And it's where running backs come out of the backfield. And last week I mentioned it with regards to a running back who ran a play. And it was just in subtlety. I was talking about Devontae Adams and somebody else, I think. And I said, and here's the running back running a Texas route. And oh man, like comments and questions. What is it? That's not real. Is that really real? Well, Bill Walsh created it in the West Coast offense years ago. And you can actually see it behind him during this interview. The route is the running back who's coming out and around on this outside is the Texas route. But the other piece I had mentioned was that I had met Bill Walsh back in 1995. It was my second year, and I went down to a clinic with my mentor who knew them. And back then, and I'll come back to you real quick, Norb. I think this is fun for the fans to know about. What's really cool about Seattle is like when we have those preseasons, in August where the fans can go out on the grass and sit in the hill and meet the players and all those type of things. That really wasn't the case for quite some time. A couple NFL teams were doing a little bit here and there, or for us, we'd have to drive to Eastern Washington to go see them and such. But there was a time period where a high school coach and a college coach and an NFL coach could sit in the same area, and it was awesome. And it happened all the time. You go to clinics and they'd sit with you. Now there's a little bit more separation. It's hard to connect to a college coach, hard to connect to an NFL coach. So for me as a 21-year-old to be able to go and sit with my mentor and then have him introduce me to Bill Walsh, who was the featured speaker at the PIMCO All Sports Clinic in 1995. And I mean, it was packed. Like, I don't think any other coaches went to the other stuff through the 3 days, but all of a sudden Bill Walsh is speaking at Saturdays, 7 or 8 o'clock. And man, it was packed. And he started talking about all these concepts. And that's when he offered the playbook. And again, there'll be another day that I'll talk about some of those background things, but it went from Bill Walsh to me meeting, some other coaches along the way where I got to spend time with them. I spent a week with Mark Speckman, who has no arms, but he's the originator of the fly offense. So you see the fly offense where guys are running behind the line of scrimmage, lateral, spending time with him. Troy Calhoun at Air Force, spent some time with him, and then he sent me DVDs of his offense. You just can't do that anymore as a high school coach and college coach or whatever. So here's Bill Walsh, the genius, sitting with a 21-year-old drawing stuff on napkins. Texas route was one of the things he talked about back then. And now it's to the point where it's actually in a Madden.
I've seen it. I've seen it in Madden. I see it, the Texas route, and I can see it.
So for anybody who's thinking I'm making stuff up, I don't have the genius of Norb where I can go and do Photoshop and do these things and throw the word Texas over some other word that was in Madden, right? Here's the Texas route right there. And, and here it is. I really like this guy. He's a former quarterback that played in the NFL, so I watched a lot of his stuff because he brings out some of his playbooks. So here again, here's New Orleans.
Is there an image? Texas. Is there an image for us to see here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh, there.
So here again. So there's the Madden. When I scroll past.
Oh,
the Madden
yeah.
piece,
There you go.
there it is. There's Texas. That's the one I was talking about. I didn't put that in there. And then guys are running the play. So former quarterback, played with 4 NFL teams. Journeyman, great guy, fun guy to follow. But he brings up some of his playbook stuff. And a lot of it is based on concepts that are from the West Coast offense, which speaks to what I was talking about last week with the type of offense I was hoping we might bring in. So there's Texas in there. Just some other things that, he's talking about there. Here's another offense that he was at. And what's really cool, Norb, and I'm going to bring this out when I show the West Coast playbook that I received years ago. And I showed a copy of it last week. I'm going to bring out the original so that people can see that I have the legit original.
Oh, yeah. Somebody said something. Oh, that's just a photocopy, I think is what you're referring to, right?
You can go on. Yeah, you can go on and you can get photocopies. But I'm hoping that my credibility will be such that people will trust and see that. Yeah, I was very lucky to have a career where I got to meet some great people along the way, and they were so willing. But what you see is often these old kind of yellowish paper, which is what they did. They created their stuff back then. But what's also neat to see is how different offenses. You think all these offensive minds create these crazy elaborate things, and a playbook in the NFL is a good 3 to 5 inches. I mean, it is thick. It is really thick. I showed just a little section of last week when I was just thumbing it up there. But here's one from New Orleans Saints. And again, this is from about a decade ago, 8 to 10 years ago. I mean, you see all this stuff that's on here, and then you go forward a little ways. He's talking, and then here's when he saw Texas from another offensive playbook. And look at how basic that is, compared to this offense. Still NFL. So, that's what I like about that. So I'll be bringing out some of those things from time to time. Less from a credibility standpoint, but again, if someone's looking for, how do you break this down and how does it relate to the Seahawks? And especially once we, choose a coordinator, I think that'll be some fun stuff to do, is to talk about what are they doing. I can pull up plays, bring up plays from around the league that, we may be running stuff, just as a fun way to do some neat things. Well,
I know Pete, the chat is just going off about the Packers game. People just who's blaming something on who. It was on Aaron Rodgers. No, it was on the offense. It was on the defense. The call. We're definitely going to get into that. One last point. There was a interview about our favorite receiver, DK Metcalf, and he appeared on a podcast called I Am Athlete with Chad Johnson and Brandon Marshall. And I guess during that show, he said something to the fact of his top 5 receivers in the NFL today, and he put himself there at number 2.
Yes, he did.
I think we shouldn't be too surprised at that, because we know he thinks very highly of himself, and yes, he should, because all receivers do. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Because you definitely have dug into and critiqued his game all season long. So when you saw that story, what was your reaction?
So I think people are going to be surprised. If anybody who's been following us since day one, they do know that I have been pretty critical of DK, but critical from a standpoint of, I was always taught that I had a coach who always said, I owe it to you to nitpick the little things. And man, I hated it at first. And then I realized when I was playing, and then as a coach, when I was forwarding that concept onto others, it's just to make you better. So whenever I'm nitpicking DK, it's because I think he could be the greatest receiver in the NFL and one of the best of all time. Because he has all the skill and ability to be able to do such. The only main big issue I had was when he just blew up, in that game, earlier when he jumped into the stands and did the camera thing and got us a penalty. I want guys to have fun. So when it comes to this standpoint, I think it's great. Like, I have no problem with him ranking himself number 2. Like, I want him to think that, because now he's put it out there, which means he has to try to live up to that. right? So, that we're starting to understand what his personality is like, which then will make when these things happen seem not as relevant and not as major. When they first happened, we're all kind of like, oh God, he threw his helmet and then now, he does this, does that. Well, after a year or two, you'd be like, okay, he's a diva. He's okay with being a diva. He wants to be that way, but now he has put something out there that he has to live up to and say, be the number 2 guy. So I have no problem with that at all. In fact, I think it's kind of cool for, especially in Seattle, where we're kind of this, we always claim to be this little quiet place and everything else. One of my favorite players of all time was Gary Payton. I loved it, how brash he was and talked, but he backed it up, right? So if DK can be that for us in football and give us that offensive guy, that personality we were talking about, man, be that guy, but back it up. So then everybody will respect you for it.
Yeah. And I want him to be, you kind of need them to believe that they're that good, right? Part of it is, you are what you believe you are. And so if you don't believe yourself to be the best or don't think of yourself as the best, well, if you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to? So, but like you said, you got to back it up. And so I hope he does. I hope he becomes the number 2 receiver. I mean, he was the number 1 receiver, in terms of the Seahawks as a all-time yardage, so he's got that under his belt, but we know he's got plenty more, and he left a lot more yards. He might not be the number
1 receiver on his own team.
That could be debated.
But, that could be up for debate, in terms of the all-around game. But I think in terms of just the sheer magnitude of when you're looking from outside in, or even us as locals, who's the best. I would like to go into next year saying he's a top 5 wide receiver, but I think Lockett's in the top 10. They just don't see him as the big play threat, but Lockett is the all around guy. Yeah, he's the perfect 1-2 punch if he gets going. So I'm excited about that. But
we'll definitely be watching.
I'm sure if you were itching to get to Green Bay,
they are, and I'm itching too because I'm been dying to have this debate with you because obviously there was a lot of controversy about the the ending and the call. Go for it or kick the field goal, that whole thing. But let's. I'm going to turn it over to you. You've got your plays. We're going to talk about the NFC Championship game, Packers versus the 2 Battle of the Bays, Green Bay versus Tampa Bay, Packers and Bucks. So the floor is yours, man. Break it down.
Yeah, and I mean to be honest, Norb, I was so excited going, from a fan standpoint because you want to be able to see things live. When you know that there's a possibility for magic. Like I remember when McGuire and Sosa were going after the home run record years ago, and I was doing everything I could to get in front of a TV every time they were up to bat. It didn't matter where it was. So there's certain things that happen in life where you're just like, I just need to see it. Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady is like must-see television. Like you had to see it because especially if it was going into the 4th quarter and there was a battle. So when at first it looked like, geez, maybe Tampa Bay's just going to run away with it all of a sudden. Yeah, and then Tom Brady's like, I don't want to be the greatest of all time quite yet. I'll wait a little while. So let me throw a few picks here to the wrong guys, let it be close again. So when it came down to the last few drives, you're like, man, like the greatest guys of all time, not just this year. You got the MVP of the league, most likely in Rodgers. You got the MVP of all time. And it's going to come down to who makes the best plays. What you didn't think it was going to come down to was who's going to be the worst of the two. And it's kind of how it's reversed out to. So the first play I'm going to go to is I'm actually going to go back a little bit, and I threw a little piece on here so you'll know who I'm talking about, which team I'm kind of emphasizing here. This time it'll be Tampa Bay. This was a play that, to me, this was the start of some very interesting decisions that took place.
Yeah, set us up here so we kind of know what. Okay, go ahead. I just want to make sure so our viewers know where we are because sometimes we don't know what's happening at this point. We don't know the score or nothing.
Yeah, and if I haven't clarified it, Norb, please by all means, state it.
Yeah, because we're spoiled by having so much data on a broadcast screen, down in distance, time remaining, play clock, all these graphics, and then you go to coach's view. There's nothing. So we have to actually go. Where's the yellow line? Where's the blue line? Where's the graphics? So we have to kind of spell those things out. So go for it, man.
All right. And I just want to confirm, we see the cursor dragging there?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just because I think it's much easier illustrating than trying to do lines.
It's in Packer yellow, by the way. It's in Packer cheese yellow.
Yeah, because they needed an extra defender out here. So he's going to try to defend the deep third. So here's the deal. I mean, it's the end of the first half. I mean, everybody knows the play. If you watch the game, you know the play. This is more from philosophical standpoint, being able to see the all 22. It just makes you wonder, like, is it coach or is it player? And I always go back to that, Norb. Is it coach or is it player? And yes, you can say it's both, but you have to put weight on one or the other. So I'm going to kind of watch and talk and let the fans kind of decide for themselves before I tell you who I think it is. So it's, Rodgers had just thrown an interception. So now you got Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are at the 40-yard line, roughly 40-yard line, and there's just seconds to go in the game. I mean, most people are thinking...
I think 8 seconds, I want to say, something like that. No timeouts for Tampa Bay.
No timeouts, so you know that the play's got to be something to the sideline or something. And so when I saw this for me, let me just tell you as a fan what I saw, because people often say, well, what am I looking at? Well, when I saw the tight trips here and the best receiver here, to me, that's a 5-yard out come in, maybe a 15-yard square out route, or can't really run inside because you don't have the timeouts. But you're kind of set up for a one-on-one with no real deep safety over the top, and linebacker looks like he's coming, so nobody's dropping out. So it just sets up for the standard out route. But you know that you cannot get beat deep. You cannot get beat deep. So I have to believe that every coach on Tampa or on Green Bay was don't get beat deep. Here's what stunned me. In the day and age of cover two, meaning 2 safeties out here, guy covering half the field, guy covering half the field, or prevent defenses where it's 3 guys and all these linebackers, the one play you cannot get beat on is deep, and you can't get beat by the fastest guy who's just going to streak by. So I'm going to just let you watch the play.
So hold on a second. So you said cover 2. Now, I see 1 deep safety. Is this
No, I'm saying I would have expected.
Oh, okay. But this is the cover 1 here. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. This is almost like a prevent cover 1 or man free. They usually call it because he's just free to roam, and his bottom line is his job is to just back up and keep everything in front of you and be in a position where you can break to the sideline. And Norbert, what is crazy here, and I'm going to let everybody watch the play in case people haven't seen it. Again, end of the half, he just drops deep, throws it as far as he can, and not even close. The safety's not even close to where he needs to be. So here's a couple things that I want you to watch for. First off, again, even though when I say best receiver, I'm talking like there's a one-on-one matchup, like best receiver for him to throw to out of this right now, pre-snap, looks like it's going to be here. But you know that their quickest, fastest guy is up top, and he's just going to simply run out and just go, just flying 40 time as fast as he can down the field. Safety should just be backpedaling, and you tell a safety to get back, and the moment the ball's released, break on the ball. Now, Brady gets a guy in his face. Literally gets a guy in his face. But what I want you to do for this first play is just watch this combo right here, the DB, the corner, and the wide receiver. Just that one-on-one matchup. This corner knows that there's no true safety help behind him. There's not a cover 2 guy coming out, and there's not a third guy. Like, he's not a cover 3 guy, and there's not another guy over here playing cover 3. So just watch the one-on-one matchup that's out there with those two. He just runs right by him to the outside. After 30 yards, he's already beat. He's literally beat on that play. So he's gone by him. So now we've got great protection here. Gronk actually misses the block. That's why Brady gets a guy in his face, but I'm not even concerned about the blocking. To me, it's the philosophy of how are you not in cover 2, let alone cover 3, with Brady being able to throw in. It's not like you're asking him to throw 55 yards at his age or anything. Every quarterback in the NFL can throw it 40 yards. But to me, where it comes down to player or coach in this situation, again, coach because you called a brutal defense at this time. Like I'm going to the locker room. I'm fuming at somebody, probably myself. I'd have to fire myself if I called this. But I'm also talking to our guy like, hey, why did we get into this position? So this is where there's miscommunication that obviously faltered them later in the game. So as you see the safety, just watch the free safety back here. Backpedal. His break on the ball, and I'm going to bring it back up just a tad bit here. If you start to watch his break on the ball as it's going, you're always watching for, as a safety, when the quarterback gets to his depth, high school, college level, you want 25 yards depth. NFL level, 30 to 35 yards depth if the free safety's playing at normal. But that free safety started about 20 yards back. Here's at the snap. So there's 10 yards, there's 20. Yeah. He's 20 yards back, right? It's kind of standard in this prevent man free. As Brady goes back to his drop and gets to the height of his drop, which is right here, he should have been back another 5 yards. But he just took a light little trot back to here. So he's lost some ground while this guy is in a flying 40 time. So now he's going to be slow getting out of the chute. And then as Brady starts to go, I'm going to kind of flash our eyes back and forth here. As Brady starts to set, he's still in his back pedal.
which right now is okay because he has 3 verticals coming at him. So it's hard to commit, but he's not in any sort of position to get ready to turn and run. But now Brady is turning to throw, and he has yet to make his turn. Brady has already gone into his get back. He's already bounced. He started to come forward with his hippity hop. Arm has come off, throwing, and now he's squaring himself, but he's sideways. While again, flying 40 time. Versus if this guy had really backpedaled hard from the get-go, he would be at least 5 yards deeper, and now he's making up for the lack of a good turn. So what do you get? You get a ball that's thrown deep, and he's just too far away to get there, and not that quick on the shot. So it just really brutal from a standpoint of it just seemed like a real JV. If there's, if you're gonna say NFL has JV, just kind of like I'm putting my backup in, there's 8 seconds left. Let's let the free safety get a play, because we feel like he's deserved, kind of like in Philadelphia, right? Like, let's get a guy in there who we feel like deserves some playing time because they're not going to throw deep. They're going to throw a 5-yard out route. And then holy cow, guess what they did? They went 3 guys vertical, kept their tight end in, and a great way to run deeps. I wish more teams. So here's the thing for Seattle. How many times have we seen the Hail Mary in the history of our lives, right? A bazillion times. When deep plays at the end of games and at the end of halves are usually completed, unless it's been Aaron Rodgers throwing it deep, when they set up one-on-one deep routes. I figured this one out about halfway through my career. It started dawning on me, like, why are we throwing Hail Marys 4-on-4, 4-on-5, 3-on-5? Why not spread the field with 3 or 4 receivers and send them down all the seams and on verticals? And now you're in a position where they are right here. I mean, he could have thrown deep to either side and had a good shot at it because that safety is nowhere to be found. And this guy basically takes 3. So just really interesting, type of play call from that standpoint to have that happen. And just so everybody knows, I have basically we're going to look at 5 plays from this game and 3 plays from the Kansas City game that we're going to
five, including the one we just looked at. So we have 4 more to come. So back on that play. So what you're saying is the first mistake was a coaching mistake. The fact that they put only 1 safety deep. They should have had 2, right? At least to cover 2.
Stunned that they don't have 2 when they're inside of 40 yards. Maybe if it's 50-yard line, and even then though, I mean, a quarterback's got a decent enough arm in the NFL to throw it that far. Or they do. Brady's not necessarily going to do the old drop back half rollout, but he can buy himself time and do those things. But to not have at least 2, if not 3 back there, again, if you're expecting them to run a 5-yard out to get into better field goal range, what's the harm? Put 6 guys back there, and then they can all run up there, and you're kind of giving up the 3 points. Like as a coach in a game, you're saying, look, I don't want to give up 3, but I'm definitely not going to give up 7. And I'm not going to go into a locker room where 48 guys. 50 guys, 52 had their practice order. Do you know how quiet that locker room had to be? I mean, that is the worst feeling in the world where you feel like you're kind of in it. And then you give up a play like that. And that players are questioning it. Players out there might've been questioning it. Just an ugly situation that just sets up for, oh man, like I thought the game was going to be over at that point. Because you can just see how amped up they were. And that Bruce Arians went into that locker room like, we own these guys. And he's just such a, just get after it dude. He's probably revved up and Brady's in their faces, but he's telling them, hey, there's a goat on the other side over there. Let's make sure that we're not relaxing too much. But man, oh man, what a breakdown from coaching standpoint. But then safety and corner. Like that corner's got to know, hey, something's going on. Or again, the missing ingredient that we don't know was there miscommunication between coach, safety, corner. Corner might have thought that there was supposed to be someone behind him. Corner might have misheard the call. Like, where is that breakdown? Because the way the corner's playing it, he's not playing it like a guy who's, he's playing like a guy who's expecting there to be a little bit of help because he didn't bail out pre-snap. So, he was just playing it like I must have some help over the top. It's just a very odd way to play that.
The other thing that didn't help either, well, Kevin King was having a bad day. leading up to that point. So he'd already had some pretty bad moments. And then the safety who was back there, he was lined up on the other hash. So the distance, again, for him to even make up ground was another 3-4 yards because of the fact that he wasn't in the center. He was actually shaded to the other side. So it didn't help his situation. And man, I mean, you could look at so many things, missed opportunities. I think that's the Green Bay theme out of this whole thing. A ton of missed opportunities and some bad calls, and there was a play where Brady just threw the ball for grabs, and the Packers defender had it just like a pop fly. All he had to do is catch the ball, and the half is over. And he drops it, and then 1 or 2 plays later, boom, this happens. So again, everyone wants to put the onus on that last sequence at the end, but look back at everything that went wrong that would have changed the scope of the game. 1 touchdown, that's 7 points, and they lost by 5.
Let me put it this way, Norb. Let me put it this way. So everything stops with the head coach. At least that my belief is that everything is the responsibility of the head coach. A guy drops the ball, responsibility of the head coach. Guy throws an interception, like your job is to coach. That's why you're called coach, right? So all those things I believe. So let me preface my statements with that. Now you go back to the dropped interception right before this play, right? Guy misses a sure interception. Now we in Seattle don't know what it's like for guys to drop sure-handed interceptions, right? But here's a sure-handed interception in a game that you have to make. Right. And it's so funny because you hear guys saying, I'm going to, when I play in this big game, I'm going to leave it all out there and I'm going to catch everything. I'm going to do it. And then they drop it, do what have you. Okay. So there's touchdown that takes place there. A play that I'm not going to choose because I was trying to really keep it to just 5 plays. What are the 5 philosophical coaching type of plays that affected the game? The 2-point conversion later in the game, they get a touchdown. Green Bay gets a touchdown. They go for 2 and they chase points, which I'm not a big believer of that early in the game. Like people love to say, go for 2. When you start chasing points early, it is what's really hard is to score a touchdown and then to immediately have your team go into a negative mindset because you didn't get the 2-point conversion. And it's kind of like the difference, like in NBA basketball, the difference between a 2 and a 3. Like people go nuts on the 3-point shot. It's only worth 1 point more than a 2-point shot, but it just feels like the magnitude of it is so much bigger. Well, in football, 1 point is huge, 2 points, 3, because it's just so hard to score. So when they didn't get that 2-point conversion, and then later in the game, they're going for 3 instead of 4, well, there's your 5-point swing there also that makes the difference. So that's why I felt like it was important to show a play early on that really not a whole lot of people talk about, and yet, compared to what happened at the end. But man, oh man, I would look at that and go, that was the difference right there. That was the difference. Because what we're going to talk about here, you could argue, hey, how about some credit to Tampa Bay for just playing great defense or some other things. So we're going to get into the next.
Chef Jack Attack wants to add in the super chat, says they were in that position because Aaron threw the pick. So you can. it's a series, a domino effect of things, but give him the pick. But still, the defense should never have allowed anything worse than a field goal, despite the mistake. So. But yeah, you can keep going back to every single mistake that there was.
So remember you just said that, right? Remember what you just said there, Norb, that you don't want to give up anything worse than a field goal, which these next sets of plays, as we start to get to them, are, what is the mindset of a player when he's, or a coach for Tampa Bay when they're near the end of the game, when we get to those, of we don't want to give up anything more than a field goal, right? So that was their mindset as we go forward.
All right, ready? So next play, here we go. Play number 2.
All right, so here we go. As we come on into it, we're going to be talking about more on the Green Bay side, and I will have a play slipped in here, the touchdown that was from earlier. But this is
nice graphics, by the way.
This is the end of the game. They're coming together. It's coming together, man. Trying to make the show entertaining for people that just come on just for the graphics.
Yeah.
So here's what we got. This is the first down play, and I think it's important to see the sequence of plays, how they were taking place.
Now is this the end of the fourth? Is this the end of the game? At the end of the game?
Yeah, this is the end of the game.
So we're here at the crucial down there. Everybody's talking about.
We're jumping to the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now I do have the Devontae. I do have a touchdown that's coming in here.
Okay. All right. But we're getting to the meat of stuff here. All right. Yeah, first down.
But I'll give people a break on it. So first down play. Now at this point, something has not happened. Obviously, we come to find that some sort of communication that should have happened has not happened at this point. Because believe me, and I've heard a few people say it, around the different networks and everything else, and they're so correct. When you tell a quarterback this is 4-down territory, their mindset is completely different than if you say, hey, you know, we got it, we're going to get 3. Or if at some point you let them know. And so I just know, having played the position and coached it for years and been around it, that if Aaron Rodgers is thinking we have 4 downs, he's choosing how he runs the plays or how he checks off, because I think Aaron Rodgers has more flexibility than any quarterback in the NFL. He can check to anything. Like he owns it. And he's had 2 of his best years ever, and this year included. I mean, he's like 84 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I mean, the numbers are crazy, right? So here you go, 1st down. But he's thinking we're in 4-down territory, 1st and goal.
Yeah, and he said so. And just to add to that, he said so in his press conference that he did not know they were going to kick the field goal. He thought there was another shot. So he confirmed what you just said. There was not a communication. Exactly. So all right. And
LaFleur said the same thing. Like, it looks like he said something along the lines of, you know, yeah, we weren't on the same page. How are you not on the same page with the greatest of all time guy? Like, he's one of the best of all. How are you not? You know, you might want to be in a position of, hey, I'm going to go to the locker room, Aaron. You finish out the game so I don't get in your way, right? I mean, you got to kind of let guys do their thing. So here you go, 1st down. Lots of things to see on this piece, this action. And here's where I think this type of a show is fun, because it's what happens before the snap, not what we just talked about, but now we're at pre-snap read. Aaron sees something, and I don't know him on first name basis, but he's seeing something here, and he's communicating it to the outside. So he's looked at them, and you can barely see it, but he's put his hands up to his ear, and I'll show you from the end zone view. He's hit his helmet a couple times. He's tapped it, so he's communicated something to the outside for these 3 receivers. Something's happening, some sort of a play checkoff, pass checkoff. Could be a dummy call, you know, the old Omaha dummy, something for the team to see. So I'm just going to run the play so you see it. Okay, 1st and goal at the 9-yard line. Okay, fakes the run, throws it to a receiver who doesn't even look. Okay, so we're going to follow receiver number 2. And for those who are watching, you typically will count receiver from I count it from a defensive standpoint. Outside number 1, then number 2, number 3, count them outside in. So if we were going this side, it'd be tight end would be number 1, and running back would be the number 2 wide receiver. So 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3. So we're watch receiver number 2. Okay, here we go. First and goal. Rodgers going to play action. Doesn't even look for the ball. Doesn't turn. Hands aren't even up.
He actually ducks.
Yep, he doesn't see it. So this is what people don't see in a game, and analysts can't see it live and do it quick. But this is the beauty of second guessing things. All right, so here we go. So now let's see what receiver number 1 does on this play. Again, Aaron has checked into something. 1st and goal. Receiver number 1. Let's see what you do here. There's the check off. Rodgers does the play fake. Receiver number 1, stutter, go deep. Did it look like he was running any sort of I'm going to stutter and go? Like, I'm going to stutter and go like I'm getting a deep ball. Not really, right? Like, kind of, not a lot of effort on that. Let's watch Davante Adams. Here we go, receiver number 3, your best guy that everybody's saying he's trying to get it to him every single time. Well, he obviously wasn't trying to get it to him because he threw the slant route to a guy that wasn't looking for it. So let's see what receiver number 3 does. And the beauty is Rodgers obviously sees that it's a 3-on-3 out here. He's the only threat of anything is if this linebacker zone
drops back.
Sort of a little zone drop back. You know, zone blitzes are usually your guys that are down here. But if he drops back into some sort of zone, especially, you know, you could see that coming with their best receiver right here. But here again, let's see what we get from the number 3. Okay, there it is. Boy, tell me if that is a hard route by your best receiver on the field. Again, receiver, I'm just saying.
He's just clearing it out.
Let's see here, just a trot, like kind of.
He's not expecting the ball at all. He's just take my guy with him.
Regular speed. So now, yes, exactly. So watch all 3 of them again. Okay, so now I'm gonna move this a little bit to our end zone since we watch it. Okay, so now I want you to watch the center. Now that you have a fire block in the NFL, you know, so whereby you know it's going to be such a quick hitter that you don't risk your lineman going down the field. But a fire block, and there's other words for it, but a fire block basically is you fire out so low that you're kind of driving at the hips. You're almost making it look like a running play so that linebackers come at you, and so that the D line gets kind of hit at the waist, and it kind of, you know, if you're picturing guys getting bent over a little, you know, bent forward over into the waist area. and linemen can't get down the field, but they still will never get more than 5 yards down the field. I want you to watch just the center. Again, same play, 1st and goal. He's checked off. I'll let me make sure everybody sees it from here because you can really see it. Okay, you can see that here on Roger. I'll play it in slow motion because I think it's fun to even see those type of things. He's looking at the defense. He's checked to something, and he's probably saying something at the same time, but none of the linemen moved. So no lineman turned their head. And later you'll see where there's a play that he checks to. Every lineman turns around. They all turn and kind of communicate, and they're pointing like, okay, I got the mic. they have to change their block assignments. Okay, here's the play. Watch just the center. Okay, the center is moving out, and every one of them is running a zone type of block to the right. There's no straight fire out block by any of them. Every single one of them, including the tight end, are also, Norb, what I'm telling you is this is a running play. 10 guys on the field thought running play. 1 guy on the field thought passing play. And it was your MVP. Is that coaching? Is that player? So I heard one guy today say he choked. And I said, man, you know what? I can't go so far as to say he choked. But on this play, there's a communication thing. Like, did he get nervous? Did he get caught up in the moment? What have you? Because you can see that everybody is thinking run, including, I think, the running back. I think the running back is expecting to get the ball here. From a standpoint, he gets it, and then he stops at the line of scrimmage because he didn't get it. But those wide receivers, you can tell by the way they look back. Last time I'm going to watch it here, you'll see as the receivers all look back. It's kind of a what happened? What
was that? Yeah,
exactly.
Huh?
So so I think that's a situation where you get into some the communication gap that everybody's going to talk about. But on that one there, you had a situation where I think Rodgers checked to something with just the hand gesture piece, and what ended up happening was nobody they thought it was either a dummy call or something else. So, yeah. So interesting. So let's continue on.
Okay, so now it's 2nd down from the 8
or 9 yard. Now we're rolling with it. I think it takes it back too far here. There we go. So as we get into the 2nd down play, so now they're in a 5 wide position. Okay, so pretty much you're going to pass it. And here's the thing with Rodgers and with Brady, they're not scramblers, right? Like we are so lucky to have a guy like Russ, as much as I know I've been nitpicking him as well. But the day that he leaves the Seahawks is going to be a bummer, not just from hey, we love Russ. And I'm talking like when he retires or what have you, but the escapability and the fun stuff he does, considering all the quarterbacks we've had in the past that couldn't do that. It is such a pressure you put on the defense when you have guys that can do that. So here you get, and I've been talking so much about these games, man. I think my voice is going. So you get the 5 wide receiver set here, which I love. Like, please, more 4 and 5 receiver sets down in the 10-yard line, when you're a passing team. Now, here's been the debate as we get to the later play. Rodgers has been stating in a play later that he thought that a certain linebacker, which you'll see here, was spying him the whole time down in the goal line situation. Now, I'm not going to point it out right now, but just keep that in mind. So here's the play as it was run. Okay, he's dropping back. Now, no doubt about it, on 1st down when you don't get it, 2nd down at every level, you're kind of telling your quarterback, hey, get it to our best guy. Get it to our best. If we cannot leave the stadium, if we don't go at least one attempt to our best guy. And what I love, Norb, is that they didn't throw a fade route. Like, I can't stand when guys, 1st, 2nd down, you just see the fade to the corner. Like, hey, you're better off. You have a better chance with slants and hitches and drags and crisscrosses and all these other things. Now, the only difficulty here is this pretty long route that was taking place up top by Adam. So if we're just watching receiver 2, I'm not going to worry about the other guys. Basically, you could tell that Rodgers is waiting for Adam to make his break here, and he's just going to kind of run a settled slant and then come in here to the inside. But it's not one of his harder driving routes. And that's, I guess, what I just don't understand. It just feels like as these guys were playing at the end, yes, they're gassed, they're tired, but everything's on the line. Like, everything's on the line. And you've heard me say off the air what I think of this guy. I think this is the best route runner in the NFL. Not even close, because of how well he gets off the ball. And I'll break it down either next week or the following week when I do a thing on receiver stuff. But here he stems them a little bit. But when I say stem, it means you're kind of moving your route outside a little bit or inside a little bit to create a breakaway spot at the break. So he started off here, then he moved outside just a little bit when he's driving, because he's trying to square this guy up and then make his move. So he squares him up, gets the drive on him, Rodgers is looking him off, kind of looking safety, seeing what it is. Now, in my opinion, this is one of the times that Rodgers actually jumped out of there earlier than usual. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not a guy to do that. Last week, we were complimenting him on this stuff. And it's what I've seen all year out of him, that he doesn't panic when what's there to panic on? Do you think Russ would like that right there? I think Russ would like this type of protection.
Nice little hole right there. Yep.
Nice little pocket. Okay, he's waiting. Okay, he didn't get the square across the middle, but here's the thing with Rodgers again. If he came back to the outside, look at this. Okay, but he's waiting for, let's get it to our best guy. So I can't fault him for not throwing this because we've got 4 downs according to his mind. So I'm going to take a shot so I can live with the fact I've taken a shot to hit him, and then I'll come back and throw to whoever to win the game. So we get the route. It's thrown a little late, a little high, and and their time was off most of the game. But just tough from a standpoint that if he knows that there's only 3 downs, maybe he doesn't force this one. Maybe he doesn't try to scramble because he can't see him yet, and so he's just trying to figure out a way. He feels some open space. But here's the first time, and I'm going to take us to the end zone view, actually. Here's the first time that we're going to see something that no one else has really talked about, but Aaron Rodgers, when it comes to the play at the third down play. Here he is, number 45. Okay, Rodgers claims after the game, he's like, the reason I didn't run it later is because I thought 45 was spying me. Well, everybody thinks he thought that on the third down play. You could tell on the last play, and I didn't point it out as much because I wanted to save it for this one, that 45 is without a doubt keeping an eye on him. He is right there squaring up with him. He's taking away any inside slants because Rodgers, he's not Russell Wilson, right? He's not a hard scrambler. He's not Patrick Mahomes. So you're not worried about him breaking on you. And if he does, you're going to run 3 yards to his 1 yard. I mean, Rodgers is a gimpy player. Right. Okay. But from right here, you can tell that he's squared up to make things happen. So he's taking away the slant. He's taking away all the angles. So if Rodgers goes in, so keep that kind of picture in your mind's eye of him being in that spot. So I'm going to move us ahead right to the next set. Okay, so here's the third down play. Anything you want to say on that one, Norm, on that last play before we move to third down, the play that
this is the controversial. Well, the controversial one comes after this, but it's the start. It's a 1-2 punch of controversy. It starts here. Not really. None of the last one, other than it did seem like he bailed out early and he couldn't make a good throw because of the fact he was on the run and kind of off balance and stuff. So so let's get to the meat. Okay. The meat and potatoes here.
So let's put together everything just for a second, right? Like we're going into this spot of the game. We have a quarterback who's at the end of the game thinking, I've got 4 downs. Coach who's thinking I got 3 downs. So the first down play, he checks out of it and he checks into something that absolutely doesn't work. But he's thinking, I've got 3 more plays. I have to get the ball to my best player now. I've only got 3 chances left. Coach is thinking he's got 2 chances left. So they call a play. Coach calls a play that brings 2 guys in on a quick dig, 5 yard, short square or a dig route. Both guys are wide open. But Rodgers is thinking 3 plays. Coach is thinking if we can get a little bit closer, and if they complete that one, now Coach has converted himself into we're in 4 down territory. But Rodgers is already there, so he thinks, let's throw it to Adams. So now we get into this situation here. Rodgers thinks I've got 1 more play in me, after this. So I can make things happen, take a sack. I can do whatever I need to. 2 minutes left. We got our timeouts, all sorts of things here. So let's just watch the play again. The third
pull it up.
Take it back to it. Yep. So as we watch the play develop here, draws back, buys plenty of Rodgers time. He scrambles, he escapes, throws the ball ugly. Now we're going to watch it one more time just from this standpoint. So here's the interesting piece here. Your best receiver does come open for a second here on the inside. But Rodgers is thinking, I've got 4 downs, so I'm not going to throw this. I can take a chance. I can move around. I can do all sorts of type of things at this point. To where I think if he knew that he had 3 downs left, or was only going to go with 3 downs, that all these other plays, he would have taken anything short on first, second, or third down, without a doubt, to just guarantee it. Because there's no way that LaFleur doesn't go for it on 4th and anything inside the 5 yard line.
Yep.
fourth, anything. Now I'm going to come. So remind me to come back to fourth and anything inside the 5. Okay. I'll come back to after this play. So he's there, but when you see Adams run, he runs his dig route and then he runs a double move like dig. Okay. It's not there. I'm going to go up the field. So he kind of tried to run a double break on it. Now the 2 points of controversy come up from the end zone view. Okay. Controversy number 1 is he should have kept the ball. Gosh, he had all that space out there to run the ball.
Should have ran it in himself. Right?
Should have ran it himself. And I'm telling you, if he knew that his coach's mindset going into this series of plays was I only have 3 downs, he would have run the ball to get himself inside the 5-yard line. Because then he'd have put the pressure on his coach. Like, hey, okay, I can see it. I can maybe get there. He's not going to be able to know if I can get to the 5 or the 1 or score, but he's going to try. He's Aaron Rodgers trying to get to the Super Bowl. He's going to definitely try to do that. But let's go back to now number 45. Okay. 45 is looking to see, hey, where's their best receiver? Like, I just got to know where their best receiver is. He's not going to beat us. And then I'll track down Rodgers if there's anything. So 45's got a lot of territory to cover. He's basically got from the center to the goal line all the way here. That's his whole area. Because they're going to bring 4. They're covering 3-on-2 out here. They're covering 3-on-2, 3-on-3 out here. So he's just a middle spy guy, and he does a great job, and he gets put in a great position where, hey, I can take care of Adams here at the bump, so he takes care of that. You can tell Rodgers he's looking for him. So this is where it just gets fascinating when you can just go frame by frame. So 45 now is in a spot where he's done, but Rodgers now isn't looking to his guy. Like, this is how quick things happen in the NFL.
Yeah, he's open right there. If he could release it real quick, he's open for a second.
And would you agree with me that he's got the quickest release in the NFL?
Oh, we've seen it. Boom, boom.
He's one of them, if not the quickest, right? So, and he can know, like I thought a Mahomes thing is coming from when I watched from the end zone, like, gosh, maybe from the end zone he does throw it and complete it, right? So he's right there, but now he's not looking at that. He's looking here. And when you're looking at this right here, to us, it may look like, well, that guy couldn't have gone around there. These guys are so fast. They are so fast, but still, okay, you didn't see that until right now. He looks back. It's covered. He can't throw that. But he does throw it. Now, I would argue that 45 maybe gets bumped into this guy, but he is still going to catch Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron doesn't throw it, but here's the other thing as we watch this one more time. These are all the things that take place, and this is the debate I'm putting out there for the super chat for anybody who watches it. Like, I'm not saying which way he should have gone with this, but there's so much frame by frame he could do. Okay, he could have thrown it there to the backside.
Yep, right open right there.
He could have pump faked. If he pump fakes, we've all seen what happens with a pump fake. Mm-hmm. Then maybe 45 goes, or he starts to run, and as he runs, either these guys go with him, which you think they have to do. So somebody's got to go tackle him.
Yep. And
then he dumps it off here. So you kind of sucker him in like a point guard going down the court and draws the 2-on-1 defender on him and then bounce pass. Okay, we'll run the bounce pass play. Or they get back, this guy gets bumped and Rodgers gets in. So, I mean, it's the old, we'll never know the answer to it. But man, oh man, it sets up a lot of, just a lot of things that take place.
I'm curious what the audience thinks and what you think. But
as am I.
In my opinion, in that play, if he runs, I don't think he gets there. I think he gets close, gets to like the 3, but I think somebody gets him. I think 45, like you said, I think he finds a way to track him down because he's getting an angle to protect that. Now, like I said, if he pump fakes and gets him to all just lunge for a second, maybe he gets it to the corner. But if he just runs in that direction that he was already flowing towards, I don't think he makes it. But it would then be a lot easier 4th down play than what they had to make at this point.
Exactly. I don't think he makes it either. Again, I do not think he would make it, but I think he's easily going to be inside the 5. He's probably closer to the 3 or the 2, which means he's going to go for it, right? When you're down inside the 5-yard line. But here's what I wanted to come back to on the anytime you're inside the 5-yard line. As a guy who called plays every year but 2 in my career, I was always the play caller. I always like to be in the 5 to 10 yard range from, in goal to goal situations when it came to having to throw the football, because when you're down inside the 2 yard line, you can't run a whole lot of conceptual stuff. And I don't, I like to run even little drop fades or teardrops or anything like that, or play, those type of things. The only thing you can really run down there is play action, which you saw Tampa Bay do earlier, where they ran the play action tight end wide open, but it limits you. And when you're an Aaron Rodgers team where you're more of a little bit more of a spread and do some of the bootleg stuff, sometimes it helps to be outside that 5 to 9. So the fact that they didn't go for it no matter what, I would have thought that when you're in goal to go in that situation, 2 minutes to go, you're going to throw the football and you're going to go for it on all 4 downs. Because to me, having, even at the 9-yard line, what are the odds of Rodgers going 0 for 4 in that situation? I mean, your odds are all with you there, in my opinion. And you have more space than if he runs and gets to the 3-yard line. Now guys are jammed up. There's other situations, except for the fact that, I can flip it and go, you got the best guy off the line of scrimmage, which I'm on the final play. I'm going to show you here what might have happened. So I'm going to show you how this could have played out in the fantasy world.
Right. Okay. So I guess
an actual play.
So now I do have to ask that question. I don't know if you're waiting to answer it, but the whole thing about if you were LaFleur and you were in that situation, do you kick the field goal or do you go for it? And I don't know if you're waiting for after to show this play, but I'm going to ask that question of you as a coach. What do you do if you're okay?
Yeah, let me do this, and then I'll say it, and then
I'm going to ask it. Questions. So all right,
because we'll go to questions and everything else.
Yeah, phone calls.
Because this plays into, I think what we're going to talk about also. Because it's not a fantasy play. This is a play that actually took place in this game. So let's pretend Aaron Rodgers got inside it doesn't even matter when it was. Doesn't matter when it was.
Yeah. So
this game.
But it could be 4th down. It could be, like I said, he scrambled and he got tackled at the 2 or whatever.
Yes, that's what I'm setting up here. Let's pretend he scrambled and now it's 4th and 3 and you're going to get this. This is probably what you're going to get. Now, the first time they did this, so you already know that they've done this earlier in the game. So even though I'm pretending this is the actual 4th down play, I'm going into it with the mindset of, hey, we ran a play earlier from the 3-yard line, and when we got into this certain formation, this is what they did. So now let's do the exact, instead of guessing what to do, let's get the same formation and pick the best play and let Aaron check us into something based on what he sees, since we already know that they're not going to run this defense that they've prepared for all week against us in this situation. So as we get it up there, just to run the play the first time, it's 4th and 3, the championship's on the line, we're going for it, this is for the win, and they just run a quick slant against an all-out blitz, because you certainly don't see anybody. This should tell every fan in America, if you want to know, how do I know it's an all-out blitz inside the 5-yard line? Well, when there's nobody around at the end of the play where the play started, pretty much can trust that an all-out blitz going on. Stunned me that they ran an all-out blitz ever against an Aaron Rodgers team with a guy who's the quickest guy off the line of scrimmage, maybe in the history of the NFL, sans a guy by the name of Doug Baldwin, who he took pretty much all his moves from, again, for a later show. But if we're just watching the play from a basic standpoint, you can see, I mean, it's a max all-out blitz. They're just running a simple cross, but he's looking here the whole time.
Yeah.
Rodgers smart. He sees it, all-out blitz. You got your best guy, who they couldn't connect with very much earlier. Just why? I mean, it's not even close, right? I mean, there it is, touchdown, boom. Very, very easy to see. I'm taking everybody just to the end zone just to get through this one. Again, Rodgers sees it. So again, if it's 4th and 3, and now he's coming up here and he's saying, okay, the last time we called this play, last time we came up here, we're going to call the same play. The last time they went all out blitz. So this time they're not probably, they're probably not going to go all out blitz because they didn't get to us last time. So they're going to drop guys back. So you know what I'm going to run, Norb? I'm going to run kind of something similar, but this is the hybrid of the West Coast offense. I'm going to run this guy on a Texas route because 32 is going to drop out of here. He's going to have to help double team, or this guy is going to have to help double team. And the best route to run against a single wide receiver, single corner, against guys that are blitzing or guys that have to double your best guy is a vertical out of the backfield, or I think the hot Texas route. And that's what, because you've heard hot route before. That's where it originates from, hot Texas. And that's what, so it's a hot Texas route. Montana made his money doing this. Brady's made his money doing it. Rodgers made his money doing it. That's what I would have called out of here, is having something out of the backfield with the running back, and then having, still looking for your best receiver. but since they're probably not going to blitz, and if they do, we're going to get you anyway, right? We got you. So here it was from the end zone. Just again, the way they ran it. So I look at this and go, man, this is what they could have done. But as you can see, linemen are, kind of fun to see linemen talking, doing their thing. Great job picking up the pressure. Boom, pretty easy. So I think that's a piece, Norb, that as we come to the finish of that portion of it, man, I mean, it's just a tough thing that you have to sit around. And I think of it as a head coach. Oh, I got a bonus graphic for you and the fans out there. I found this one for you. I think you'll appreciate this. So wish we could have done this earlier with ourselves, but basically I figured that as we get to the spot here, this is the last one. Let me find them. Here we go. And Green Bay is now officially out of commission. Done. Out of it. I figured nice. For a guy who loves effects and all those type of things, I'm just a goofy coach that learning the trade of this stuff. But
well, as you know from our Eastside Catholic days, we like to blow stuff up. So
anything that blew up. So that's why I put that on there, man.
I love it.
Have a highlight video without explosions.
Well, and who knows? This symbolically, this could be the blowing up the Packers too. Not only get blowing up in this game, but the future going forward now is a lot of things in question. We'll see how next season goes. But this is the point now.
So let me ask you. I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers, you got. Look at the bookends to what happened. I mean, it could have been so great. And instead, the bookend of this year was their first draft pick is a quarterback. So that didn't send the greatest message in the world. And then he has a golden season, MVP season. He's getting along great with the coach. And then your very last play, is a play that you thought you had one more play. And you come off and you're questioning the coach and all this. So your bookends are those things. Like, where does he go? And I'll let you answer the question. Then I'll give you some thoughts
and then you'll answer
the
question.
See happening.
Yeah. So you're talking about this is the final play. If I was LaFleur and it was fourth and goal from the 8,
the final play, both the final play and where does it go from here? Where do you think what happens?
Oh wow! So on the final play,
it's a gloomy day in Green Bay, man. There's no cheese being eaten. Like nobody's no cheese. Like the cheese is gone.
This is the type of game where you want to be the team that goes deep in the playoffs. But I'm not sure who's more miserable right now. I think right now Seattle and their fans, as much as we were disappointed this season, we can't possibly imagine the disappointment that the Green Bay Packers organization, Aaron Rodgers, and the fans are feeling in Green Bay. A lot worse than what we're feeling right now. Because you're this
right
close.
There with the biggest, worst calls. Other than it wasn't in the Super Bowl.
Not as glaring, and it's not the Super Bowl. And it's not quite so... where it just interception, but it has that same feel like, how did we not win that game? So, but going back to that, me and my dad were debating. My dad, of course, was like, "Oh, go for it, go for it." He's always saying "go for it" most of the time. Anyway, at the time, I was actually looking into it, thinking about it, because the thing was there was a lot of time on the clock, and to give credit to LaFleur. If they had not gotten the pass interference call, the logic would have worked because they would have gotten the ball back on the next play. If they had actually not called pass interference and they'd actually gotten the stop, they would have gotten the ball back. I can't remember the time. It still felt like it would have been like $150. There was plenty of time, and he would have gotten the ball probably around the 30-yard line or something like that, depending on the punt. So
Rodgers can go 100 yards in 30 seconds.
And we've seen him throw, and he throws the Hail Mary better than anybody. So he really wants to get to the 50, maybe the 45 of his own, and he can still score a touchdown, right?
Exactly.
So from that standpoint, it made it feel like up until the flag was thrown, hey, he might have made the right call here. But obviously it didn't work out. So it seems obvious now. Oh yeah, I should have just gone for it. But it is fourth down at the 8. So it's not like at the 1. It's not like the 2. It's not this easy thing. That's 8 yards. And so it's a sizable chunk. And like you said, if they gotten to the 3, then I think you got so many options. You can actually, you can pass, you can have some other things with the running back. But at 4th and 8, you're kind of stuck with, you just kind of have to make it happen. It's just not quite as much of a slam dunk. So, I was actually kind of more 50-50. My dad was all in that they should have gone for it. But I think looking back at the whole way that the season went, and especially with Seattle, how many times have we played the conservative route, and it seemed like more often than not, the not being aggressive didn't pay off, and the teams that were aggressive, Kansas City last week in the divisional, going for it on 4th and 1, the teams that took the chance, Aaron Brady throwing the deep bomb instead of playing for the field goal, if that ball's incomplete, maybe they don't even get a field goal, you know? So they're taking a chance, but it seems like if you're gutsy, if you're aggressive, this year at least, it has paid off. And so, you know, you got to, it's so easy to say that they should have gone for it. But I will have to admit that at the time, I thought that there was enough time that they could still pull it off. But the defense had to get the job done, and they didn't. So I wasn't quite so obviously choosing that they should go for it. I was a little bit more hesitant about it, to be honest. So I'm curious about you. So, if you, with all things being equal, and you're facing 4th and goal to 8, kick the field goal, do that, or go for it. Wherever you're at on that.
Herm Edwards has a famous quote that people have seen a million times. And the quote is, you play to win the game. You play to win the game. Now, I honestly could not remember, and I had to ask family members this, they've watched games with me, and we were watching the game, watching games here. I can't remember the last time I stood up at a decision when I realized what decision had been made that wasn't a Seattle Seahawks decision. Like there have been times where Seattle, there's decisions and I kind of stand up and the old coach comes out at me and, I don't get upset or anything, but I start kind of pacing like, oh man, how could I just get a little frustrated and I get moving around a little bit and I start telling everybody what I think and they tell me stuff back and it's just a fun bantering we have. As soon as I realized that he was kicking the field goal, like I bounced out of my chair and I literally was, you're kidding me. Like, I turned into a fan, like forget the coach in me. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And the very first thing I said was, does he not know who the quarterback is on the other side of the ball?
Right.
Now, I get that they had 4 timeouts left, meaning you had 3 timeouts and you had the 2-minute warning, right? So you got 4 chances to stop the clock, all those things. But after I said, does he not know who the guy is? Okay, kick the field goal, whatever. Tom Brady does not need to drive the field to kick a field goal, doesn't need to drive the field to get a touchdown. He needs 1 first down. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He still plays with a chip on his shoulder because he was, drafted 200 whatever in the draft. I mean, he's the greatest player. Do you not think that he's going to get the calls from the refs, that he's not going to have the players do the right thing, that he's not going to let the Arians isn't going to just let him make the calls and choose whatever plays he wants? Like, hey, it's your team, you do it. He only needed 1 first down. And I'm just a big believer that, like if you're at the end of a game and you have a chance to tie or go for 2, like I'm going for 2, 100% of the time. I'm going for 2 because, you don't play checkers with people to tie. You don't play other things. You play to win. Offense is how you do it. Offense is how you do it. Defense is you're trying to back up and make sure things don't happen. You're playing it safe. Like, how do we keep things from happening? We're backing up. I'm coming at you. And if we lose, it's because we made the effort, we went after it, and it just didn't work. You can live if Rodgers goes for it and they throw an incomplete pass and Brady then runs out the clock, fine. But here's the other piece of that. Let's say they go for it, they don't get it. It tackled it to 2, incomplete. The play calling for Brady and everybody else when it's first down from the 9-yard line is way different than it is when it's first down, out there at different spots. If Rodgers had run for it or what have you. So there's all sorts of different things that take place there that affect how that all works out. So to me, it's one of the rare controversial things that I am 100% to one side on. When usually I'm like, yeah, okay, there's not anything that anybody could say to me that would no. You have to go for it with Aaron. You have the MVP at quarterback, and you're going to give the greatest of all time a chance to just get 10 yards.
Yeah.
No brainer.
Yeah, and that's the other side of it too. Is that if you, like you said, don't make it, you still got the same timeouts in your back pocket, and they are, at the 9-yard line.
Worst case, or best case, there's the 9, but
or maybe they're closer. Yeah, if they get there to the 1,
those
then they got to be
plays. You kind of gone for again. You maybe throw those dig route. Okay, now you're at 3rd and 3. You don't get it. 4th and 2. You don't whatever. But now the play calling is different. Brady's running the ball. He's running. They're running the ball. Timeout, punt.
They're going to be a lot more conservative because you don't want to make a mistake at your own 9-yard line down there. Plus, when they punt, they're going to get it at the 50 instead of punting from the 30-something and getting it at their own 30 or 25-yard line or whatever that would have been. So, all right. So for you, it was 100% clear where you were.
Nuts. There's one word that drives me nuts, and I think and I'm not going to say it's younger coaches or inexperienced coach or whatever, but it is the trend, and it's the trend that drives me nuts. And then the word is analytics. Analytics are great for about 3.5 quarters. And then I think with half a quarter to go, you got to know with what you go with what you know is best, with what your gut feels is best. Like that to me is what makes great coaches great. You know, I mean, and I don't claim to be the greatest coach or a great coach or what have you, but during those great runs that we had, and you were there for those, man, like you just get in the zone and you just feel it. When you get to the end, you know there's the right call to make based on what the numbers are telling you. But then you know you're like, but gosh, man, this guy is really hot.
Right.
Or that linebacker is doing well, or we're blocking that guy, or their defender's having a bad game, or hey, you know, I mean, there was a title game that you guys were at, and we knew that we called him the pigeon, and he was the best player on the field for their defense, but he was having a bad game. And all of a sudden we went from pass to, you know what, we're just going to run right at him. And when they flop him to the other side, we're going to keep running at him because their team's getting upset. Like our best player's not doing well, even though the analytics would have said running away from him in the fourth quarter. He gets better as he was getting worse. So there's things that you just can't do. And I know, I mean, LaFleur's kind of said it like, well, the percentages show that no. Look at your quarterback and look what they've got a quarterback. Just analytics don't work in that situation.
Yeah. And you got the MVP at quarterback with one of the best receivers, arguably. Yeah. And so it's not just what you're looking at when you give it back the ball to, it's who you got. Trust in the guys that you got. So
you know where they're saying Aaron Rodgers is going to go, and I can believe it. Like when the first time I heard him, I'm like, what are they talking about?
San Francisco.
They're talking about two teams that he would like to go to. Like not that they think he's already said if he was to ever leave Green Bay, he would go to these two teams because of the coaches and the offenses they run and the fact that they're both needing quarterbacks. And I'll tell you I'll give you a hint. You don't have to look outside of our conference.
I know. Our division.
And one of our division as quarterbacks is a good quarterback that he's going to be fine. So you know what other two teams are left? Man, oh man. Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers?
Somebody threw that.
A Rams uniform?
I don't like that idea. I'm hoping they work it out because he's bad enough being in the NFC. Stay in Green Bay where you belong. Don't come to the West, man. But all right.
So I don't think he would have thought it if not for Tom Brady. If you didn't see Tom Brady leave, and Tom Brady left a bad team, so I get that. He saw the writing on the wall there, left. But you got to think he'll think about it. Like it's not like he ruined his legacy. Guys are doing it all the time now. 10 years ago, people said, "Oh, he's got to stay." Well, no, LeBron leaves. Brady leaves.
Well, he's already got his ring with the Packers. He'll always have that. Yeah. But if he's chasing that second one, if he feels like it's not in the cards, he could move to another team that he feels like.
Great defenses that run hybrid West Coast.
Because that's the Rams and the 49ers are one quarterback away from being really great, and the Rams are already good with an okay quarterback. The 49ers. They would have won the Super Bowl 2 years ago if they had, or last year if they had a good quarterback. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the chat here.
Yeah, let's do it.
And so Chef Jack Attack is anxious to get on Discord. And Lena Dahl, real quick before I take the next calls here. Alina, our beloved moderator, she says, "Sorry, Coach, he's not the greatest. The greatest don't have a tarnish on their record. 2 words, Deflategate." So Alina. Kind of arguing there, but how do you call Tom Brady the greatest when he's got that on his record? That's a whole serious discussion of debate. But
it's still when you go 9, 10 times, you win that many times. I mean, I just look at the game when he played us. I look at the comeback he did against the Falcons. I mean, the guy is, it's not that he's the greatest quarterback. Like I wouldn't say like if I'm just picking one guy to play quarterback, like he's the best quarterback. And I think most people are saying, they don't see it like he's the best quarterback. It's that they're, the way I heard it best was the best organization in sports is Tom Brady. He's the best organization because guys flock to him. They want to play with him. He can make mistakes, but he can get in guys' grills. So he just knows how to bring everybody up, how to enhance everybody, how to lift people. So that's why he's considered the greatest of all time because of what exudes around him and everything else. Well, player for player, I could pick 10 other quarterbacks I'd pick as a quarterback, but just the guy just knows how to win. Deflated footballs or not.
Even in the season after he served his suspension, the 4-game suspension, he still went on and had a great season after that, regardless of the fact that he got the punishment. So it's hard to debate. The guy just knows how to win. Whether you agree with the term greatest or not, he knows how to win, and people it inspires those around him. Can't argue with that. As much as I hate to, and as much as I'm rooting against him, by the way, it's hard to. You gotta respect what he's accomplished. All right, let's go to Chef Jack Attack, our first caller. He's excited to get in here.
Chef Jack Attack.
Always short on energy. No, I'm just kidding. Jack, welcome to the show.
Hi guys.
Hey Jack, welcome back.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Doing good,
You're
man.
awesome.
Just enjoying talking football.
So the Packers and Buccaneers game, and so I think there's a debate going around that who's to blame for that game? Like who's to blame for that loss? And when I think who deserves the most heat for the loss, I have to look at Aaron Rodgers, because the defense had 3 interceptions that game against the greatest of all time. They had 3 interceptions. They kept them in that game. I know that one play was horrible to end the first half off. That was a horrible play. But do you know why they were in that position? Because Aaron Rodgers threw a pick. And that was a bad play. I understand that. But when the defense was getting these interceptions and keeping them in the game, the first interception, Aaron Rodgers goes 3 and out with -5 yards. The next time they get an interception, he goes 3 and out with no yards. So in total, for two possessions that should have led to some points, he had -5 yards. I mean, that has to be some of it has to be in Aaron Rodgers, because guess what? Every time the Packers win, Aaron Rodgers always gets like a
credit.
He's the one why the exact credit, yeah. But sometimes if you lose a game, sometimes the quarterback needs to he needs to get credit for the loss. And Matt LaFleur, that was their coach. I think that was a bad call, but the post-game interview, Aaron Rodgers was like, yeah, it wasn't my call, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? You have to take responsibility. He just had to throw that in there, like, it wasn't my call. Great, it wasn't your call. But still, you have a responsibility. Sometimes you have to take the blame. And Aaron, there's 2 Aarons in Green Bay. The other one is taking most of the heat. Why? Because he fumbled? Obviously, that was a bad fumble, but sometimes that's what happens when you get destroyed. Sometimes when you get hit so hard and destroyed by a 250-pound guy, sometimes, guess what? You're going to lose the football. It's going to happen. Football.
So, hey, Chef Jack Attack, hold on. I'm going to let you take a breath. Take a breath for a second. So I got to comment on you for a second. So take a breath. So here's the thing. Here's what I want you to think about. This is kind of a question for everybody, for Norb, Chef Jack Attack, for you as well. So I would say that Aaron Rodgers probably agrees that, the last, especially those first 3 plays, like complete the pass, right? That's what we always say. Complete the pass, or, hey, don't put yourselves in a position. Or I would say, hey, defense, don't give up so many points. But think about this, and I'm not a big fan of the word narrative either. That kind of gets thrown out a lot as kind of a term. But how does this get flipped if Rodgers completes any of those passes for a touchdown and Green Bay wins? What are we saying about Brady today and those interceptions and all those other things, right? It's like when we won the NFC Championship game and Russ had thrown 4 of the most brutal interceptions in history, but he throws the deep pass to Kristyn in overtime, and so that's all everybody talks about. Like how much would it be flipped when everybody's today, like I've said, like Brady's the GOAT and he's all these other things. Brady didn't play the greatest game, but he played his greatest when he needed to. And that's the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady today from yesterday's game.
You're 100% right.
And one didn't play at his greatest when you needed them to. And that was the difference in the game.
I know. But Aaron Rodgers, this is the thing about Aaron Rodgers, and I say this to everyone that knows me when we're talking football. I don't love his attitude, but because I want to say this right now. As a football player, as a professional athlete, you have such a responsibility. People around the world are watching you, especially that game. People are watching you. Like, you have a responsibility to go out there and play your hardest. And I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers didn't, but he's got to take some of the blame. Sometimes you're not always the best. You're gonna fail a little bit. No one's perfect, and that's just the truth. But guess
Chef
what?
Jack Attack. So last question for you, and I know we'll take some other callers here. What would you think he should do? How would you like to see him act? In a situation where things didn't go his way. When something doesn't go a player's way, how do you think they should act?
How I think they should act?
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable if they get upset, but still, you're especially if you're the quarterback. Now, you have to set an example. So I'm not saying those tantrum tantrums like Odell Beckham Jr. when he was on the Giants, but I'm saying you need to take responsibility, and after the game, you need to say, you know what? Great, I had a good game. He had a good game. But sometimes you have to look at yourself and be like, you know what? Some of the loss was on me, not because my head coach made a bad call at the end of the game. Sometimes you have to look at myself and say this. Guess what? I made a mistake or two. And if your teammate drops the ball or something, you can't get too mad at him. And obviously, if it's a big game and stuff,
so Chef Jack said, I'm going to tell you this. Hey, listen real quick. Tom Brady gets on his receivers harder than just about any quarterback. I mean, he drills his he drills his wide receivers if they don't get the ball. His linemen, he will jump all over them and get on them for stuff. Again, the difference is,
yes.
And Aaron Rodgers, the thing I will give him credit for is that it would have been very easy for him to throw a lot of people under the bus, and I would have lost some respect for him. While he didn't exactly take credit, take the blame, which I agree. I do agree with you from that standpoint. It would have been nice to see him take a little bit of it, but I did like the fact that he just said, I just need to get away for a little bit, in a little bit different way he said it, but smart of him to realize he is so caught up in that moment. I mean, he had to just be fuming inside. To know that at this point of his career, how many chances will he ever get to get back there? Coach took away an opportunity when he thought he had another play call, all those things. Would have been very easy for him to get up there and just go ballistic or get nuts or say something bad about his coach or something he might have regretted. So I do love the fact that he felt he's smart enough and mature enough to go, you know what? I thought I had this, I thought we had this play, whatever, but I just got to get away for a little bit and then make my comments in a couple of weeks or whatever when he's calmed down a little bit. And I think he will come back and go, I got to take responsibility and those things. Like I respect him for doing that. So.
Hey, Jack, so I know we could, and I know you could go on forever. We could keep going on. I do want to get some other calls in here, so I want to thank you, Chef Jack Attack, for jumping in here, man. Appreciate the call. Stay on the line because we are going to do some more calls at the end, but I want to get through a few here. Let's keep things moving along. So let's go to top tier idiocy. Top tier idiocy. All right, on the line here. Top tier idiocy. You're on the line with NorbCam and Coach Marsh. What do you got?
Hello?
Yes. Hello there.
Hi, this is my first time using this Discord channel.
All right, welcome.
You're kind of staticky on my headphones.
Oh, okay. Well, we can hear you fine.
Good. We can hear you well.
So what's your what question do you got?
I didn't really have any questions. I was just popping on here to say what's up, since it's been a long time since I've chatted with you, Norb.
Oh, yeah. Well, I recognize your name. I hadn't seen that in a while, so it's good to have you back on here, man. I appreciate your support.
You, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts?
I've never chatted with Coach Marsh either. So, oh man, how's it going, man? How's it going, Coach?
Appreciate listening to the show.
Yeah, doing great. Yeah, having fun with this.
Yeah, you were a coach for high school or college?
Yeah, I coached for a long time at the high school level.
Okay. Nice.
Well, thanks for connecting with us.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna keep things moving along here. Let's go to BJ. BJ, you're on with Coach Marsh and NorbCam. What's on your mind?
Norb.
Hey.
So what Jack said, I agree that some part of the blame was on Aaron Rodgers, but last time I checked on a football team, there's more than one player on the team, and I don't think you can put a majority of the blame on Aaron. I mean, you gotta look at the secondary. They were struggling a lot. The Packers offensive line rarely kind of struggled in that game. I mean, you don't ever see that from a Packers offensive line. It's because they invest so much into it. I just don't think you can say that Aaron Rodgers, who's been playing at a high level, he's always talked about as a top 3 quarterback ever since that he started to play as a starter. And, you know, it's not easy to be consistent at that level. And, you know, everyone on that team could have done a little bit better. It's not just Aaron Rodgers, but, you know, I do agree that Rodgers had some blame on, you know, the loss. But, you know, like on the last play of the game, you know, he has, you know, an open field, you know, but there's like 2 linebackers that are very vast because this Bucs defense is based on speed on defense, at least in the linebackers, from what I know. And there's like 2 defensive linemen behind him that are going like straight at him so they could catch up pretty fast to him. And I think the best really chance that he could have had on scoring was to Davante Adams. And I don't understand how you cannot be in sync with your MVP quarterback. Because, you know, this is the NFC Championship game. I mean, you have to be in sync with your coach by that time. Because, you know, you had a whole season to adjust from everything. I mean, you have a full game's tape when they played earlier. How could you not, you know, do some stuff? And yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest.
Yeah. First off, I want to say, I mean, great comments. Love the fact that you're very succinct in terms of just, you knew exactly what you wanted to say and you said it very eloquently, man. Loved it. Great call. You know, I think part of it is, you know, you have to spread, you know, I hate saying spread the blame, but you have to kind of spread it around. But quarterback is also one of those positions, you know, unlike most sports where because of the pay that they're paid, because of the way they're kind of the face of the program, that they're really expected to, you know, be put up on a little bit more of a pedestal, both good and bad. So you have to look at it from kind of both those angles. I think that quarterback definitely does get more of the blame, but he's also out there and he gets put up there and he also gets the endorsements and all those fun things. The flip side, though, that very few people are saying is, you know, Tampa Bay played a pretty darn good game. And when they had to step up on defense at the end, like they did a great job. You know, they disguised some things, they changed some things. And, you know, I don't have time to go over all the different things that I saw from a standpoint of both live when I was watching and then when I was able to watch the replay of the games. But I think they did some things that, you know, they hadn't probably shown all season. They hadn't done when they, you know, done stuff earlier in the previous few weeks. So you have to give a lot of credit also to what Tampa Bay did, to some halftime adjustments probably that they made, that they get to the end of the game and they knew what they wanted to do and how they wanted to play Rodgers and how they wanted to spy him and, you know, be able to double cover a slot and those things. So it's definitely a flip of both sides where it could have been, let's get more things going on the offensive side with Rodgers. And I agree. How are you not timed up? But if a defense is doing something different that you haven't been prepared for, or they show you a different look, which NFL teams can do. Again, there's a reason why playbooks are this thick. You can't run that entire playbook through the course of a year. They may have pulled out some things that they haven't done yet. So great call, great thoughts. Agree that you have to spread it around a little bit. But if he throws the touchdown, everybody's talking about him moving up the ladder as the greatest and, you know, all those type of things. So, I mean, just one play really could have, I mean, and that's the beauty of sports is when a game comes to an end like that with great players and they don't make something happen. Man,
well, it's like we talk about so many times with the Seahawks is when you win, it covers up all the mistakes oftentimes that went wrong because we won. But when you lose, all of a sudden you look at we should have done this. He should have done that. Oh, what about this play? But when you win it, it's like, we won. So you got to sweep all that junk under the rug because there was plenty of blame to go around.
So high.
Plenty of
blame. He's riding
blame.
so high there in Green Bay, and now all of a sudden he gets tarnished, and now he's got this whole offseason. He's got to hear about it and listen to it, and you know he's probably feeling great, like they've been doing well, and he's got his quarterback excited to play again the last few years when him and McCarthy were just not seeing eye to eye. So bummed from that standpoint that I always hate when a good young a good young coach is doing well. And then all of a sudden something like this happens and he's just getting shredded. And you hope that you hope he can handle it well enough that it doesn't impact how he calls plays in the future. And, because you don't want guys to flip and go to the other extreme, but it makes you as a coach I remember all the time I'd see something happen in a game that would be, of this magnitude at our level. And I'd go back to our staff and say, hey, if we come into a situation like this, let's make sure we're on the same page. Like we probably won't see something exactly like this. And you can't cover every possible scenario, but you try to talk about those philosophical things. And so other NFL teams, I'll guarantee you, they're going to get into a staff meeting and someone's going to bring it up like, hey, coach, what would you have done? And it's easy in 2020 hindsight to say what you might have done, but at least you can look forward. So Pete Carroll's going to bring his staff in and say, hey, look, here's 10 situations that may come up. Let's talk about them so we all understand why, so we can defend each other. Because, LaFleur's got to make sure that his own assistants are backing him up. They can't be saying one thing to him and then going to their family and friends like, he's an idiot. And you got to be one on the same page. And that's why I'm glad that Rodgers didn't say anything after the game, because if he chooses to come back, you don't want to have to come back and repair a situation that went public. He might go in and chew LaFleur a new one, in a private setting. But I just, hopefully that all works out and, they'll make it work. But we'll just beat them when we face them next year in the playoffs if we have to.
Yeah, and again, we want them to work it out because we don't want Aaron Rodgers coming anywhere near the NFC West. So we certainly don't want that situation to possibly happen. And,
I can tell you, man, it was hard to pick out plays. I mean, because there was, there's so many potentially controversial plays where playmakers are, as I call them, they're becoming heroes. I mean, where did Fournette come from? I mean, that guy was, mega star, and then you didn't really hear much about him. That guy had one of the best plays, and I'm not seeing any of the highlights. I mean, you see it, and they just kind of go over it quickly. I'm like, that was one of the best runs I've seen in years in a big game like that. And he spin move and truck. I mean, but that again, that's why Brady becomes the GOAT. Like the enterprise of Tom Brady is being able to get guys to elevate, to get it. Have we heard from Antonio Brown having any issues? Right now, he didn't play. He's hurt.
Right.
The guy just has this aura about him, whether you like him or not. And I'm not saying I care for him in terms of what he's done, but you can't argue with the success he brings into an organization just by being Tom Brady. It's unreal. And
going back to how one play can impact everything. Again, hate to bring up old wounds, but Super Bowl 49, that game, if it ends differently, I believe Tom Brady's legacy takes an entirely different path, and so does Russell Wilson's and the organization. And Pete Carroll, you're talking about, do they recover from this play? How did that first and goal at the one on our offense, how much did that come back to haunt us multiple times to the point where Sherman was yelling at the offensive coordinator on the sidelines because 2 years later, they're still talking about not running the ball at the 1 yard line. I mean, it stings, and the bigger the impact, the longer it lingers. So it'll be interesting to see how the Packers
millions of dollars were lost at bars that night, and millions of TVs were bought because people broke them through the interception.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go one more call, and then we'll go to the last set of plays. One of the callers who I thought we were going to get disappeared. Let's just speed time along. We got a couple callers hanging on, but I think we can get them at the end. Let's go to. Let's move the show along.
Yeah, I got a quick bonus.
Right.
It's going to usually, sometimes we do it at the end, sometimes we do it in the middle, and then we'll hit our final three plays here.
Okay, let's do it.
It's because it ties in, and for those who are new, I always throw in some sort of historic or prehistoric bonus that we throw in there based on us having, we were called old men that have AARP cards by a certain DJ Squabo. So I decided to add this in so that people recognize and realize that there was Seahawks football prior to 2010. So it also ties into who we're going to be facing. So the situation before I bring it up is it's November of 1990, and we're facing a certain Kansas City Chiefs team who has a player who arguably is one of the best defensive players in history that has the game of his life, but it's a play that he doesn't make that puts us in an unreal situation. So again, when you get to this older footage back in the day, sometimes it's hard it gets a little crusty because they had the old 8mm, trying to crank the video. But basically, this is a game where Dave Krieg is sacked 7 times. Now, I'm not going to show all 7 sacks, but you'll see is just Derek Thomas was a linebacker who, people consider him kind of the next Lawrence Taylor. He was great. I mean, it wasn't like he was an up-and-coming guy. He was phenomenal, but he sacked us 7 times. Now, 2 of the sacks were sacks where Dave just fell down. Mudbone, as they call him, he just fell down because he saw him coming and just took the sack. But here you can see, they are just taking care of us, but we were hanging around. We were just hanging around. And next thing you know, we get to the final part of the game, and we're in a position where we're only down by 6 points, and time runs out, and we win the game on a last-second toss.
Is that Scansy?
Who, Norb? Do you remember? To Paul Scansy.
Paul Scansy. Yep. I met him actually a couple years ago.
So here's part of the scramble again. So we had 7 sacks, but here's the one that people didn't talk about. Thomas should have had his 8th sack, game over. At this point, there's no time on the clock because the play started with 4 seconds left in the game. Right there is sack number 8, but he doesn't get him. And Krieg, being the elusive player that he was, and I can't figure out why he's still ranked, I think, number 3 all time for quarterback fumbles, because you can tell the way he tucks the football away when he's scrambling. Pretty solid right there.
It's no loaf of bread.
But again, I mean, imagine to be a Seahawks fan back then, and oh man, they were in Kansas City, and we could never win in Kansas City. We never won in Kansas City. Guy has 7 sacks, he doesn't get us. How we don't double team him, I don't know, but we throw it deep. Scansy catches it, boom. And there's a Hail Mary that wasn't exactly a Hail Mary with a bunch of guys crammed around there. So that was a fun time, man. I remember watching that game and guys going nuts.
It was nuts.
Back in the old Silver House. But I was going to ask you before it came up here, people don't remember that Dave Krieg ended up in Kansas City and had 2 of his best years.
That's right. I totally forgot about that myself.
Most people forget it. And what I loved about Dave Krieg from what college? Do you remember what college he came from?
It doesn't even exist anymore.
First in the super chat, Norb's going to send him $100,000, I think. Who in the super chat knows where Dave Krieg came from? And it can't be Elena Dahl. It's got to be someone else. I'll give him like 5 seconds to put. Where did Dave Krieg? They always said he came from Little Blank College.
I already know what it is. It doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, I can't see the super chat. So
nobody's jumped in. So nope, they don't know. Milton College. Yep.
From Little Milton College, he makes the play. But there's 2 quick plays that he throws. Watch him drop these diamonds. He had to throw it as hard as he could. But this is, I mean, look at that. Just teardrop right in there. He threw a beautiful D ball. This is a different play.
Looks the same, but
look at that.
Yeah, it's a different team and everything.
Yeah, because what we used to do all the time was we would get rid of quarterbacks when they were still good. Like we just got rid of them. We wanted to bring in the guys like McGuire, Meyer, those guys that would help us get further first round number 1 draft picks.
So yeah, good. Nice. Always fun to walk down memory lane and see that old footage. I'm still dreaming of the day when Seattle will do a throwback day, and instead of wearing the all greens or some funky thing that they throw on the old 80s or 70s uniforms, and one night, just give me that one time. At least if they don't do it, I can always do it on Madden. So there's always that.
They should do it on the Thursday night football because they have the throwback Thursday. Now I get we're like undefeated with the lime green and Axe. I think those are pretty cool uniforms because they match the NorbCam green. But it's which I think is probably vice versa a little bit there. But at the same time, it is cool to see. Speaking of which, I've got it already queued up right there.
There it is. All right. So now transition. Now that we talked about Kansas City, so we have 3 plays
with the other game. There was another game that took place, right? So
there was.
The other game
that's right. There was
down there, and all of these really are going to be Kansas City because Buffalo wasn't able to.
Unfortunately, I was rooting for the Bills, but yeah, just too much.
Well, maybe not everybody, because I think people love Mahomes. They love Andy Reid. There's the Bieniemy story, which we're really not going to get into tonight because we're stay away from the coordinator stuff.
Yeah.
But interestingly, he hasn't been hired, right? I mean, two seasons have gone along and he hasn't been hired yet. So we'll go from there. But here's just I think some fun things to see that just show the difference between Kansas City and everybody else.
And do we need to know what point of the game this is here?
Yeah, not so much. This is because of the way they won. This is more wanting you to see the difference between they are just different than every other team in the league. But it's because they have the playmakers. They have 2 things going for them that are great. They have the playmakers to make plays, and they have a coaching staff willing to create plays. So every week you see, they're the type of playbook that probably starts at 1 inch at the beginning of the year, and they say, we'll just get this to 3 or 5 inches by the end of the year because we're just going to keep adding plays as we go. Like, hey, Mahomes, draw some plays and send them in. Hey, Pham, draw some plays and send them in.
So maybe their team is kind of like when you used to coach Eastside Catholic, and they say, hey, I got this great Madden play, coach. Can we try it? Maybe that's what they're doing over in Kansas City. Maybe it really works.
They do. They send just send in a play, and I'll run it. I'll figure out a way to run it. Which was fun because there was always one time a year when I would let a parent, we'd do an auction thing. I'd let them pick a play and they could design the play and run the play and be on the sideline. And then it was like quadruple reverses. I'm like, guys, like someone's going to get killed out there if we actually try to run this play. So we'll run it as a touch play in practice. We've got to fix it a little bit. So what you don't see on the 22, unfortunately, is when Kansas City gets inside the 3-yard line, and very common, and they did it last year in the Super Bowl, was really the first time I kind of caught notice of it. And then I saw that they'd done it earlier that year, but this year I really seen them do it a lot. When they're going to run something that's just different, they call the play in the huddle and then they get the play snapped. They don't break the huddle and get to the line of scrimmage. They get the play snapped either within 3 seconds or 5 seconds if they've got motions and other things going on. So, I mean, this play, they literally, get the huddle and then boom, they sprint and get lined up because they're trying to get guys to move lateral. And the best thing you can do is get a defense moving sideways when you start going forward, even if you're going to throw the ball sideways first. When you get a defense that's side shuffling or a defensive player that's turned, we always say the worst position in football is when the fans can see both your numbers. You just never want to be in that position. You always want your shoulders square as a defense, square to the line of scrimmage. So here they hustle up to the line just so you can just kind of watch the play as it goes. So I like people to be able to see it. And they love to be able to move guys around. So this is early on the shuffle play. Yep. So as we get the shuffle play here, you can see multiple things happening. They sprint up to the line of scrimmage. They're in a tight bunch formation, which they'd run earlier, but they're going to go bunch. They're going to go motion. They're going to half sprint out to the right, and a tight end or quasi-tight end who's an H-back right now, they refer to him as H-back, is going to come behind the line of scrimmage. And I'll show end zone view of this as well. So to just to kind of see it again in regular speed, motion, reverse motion back, looks like he's going forward with it, and now it's a cut underneath. And the only reason it doesn't just become wide open is because I think the linemen were so stunned at how out of position guys were that they end up missing blocks. So I'm going to show it slow here. Again, the point being, Kansas City gets up there quick. They get in these random formations. They motion all the time, but they know how to use their best weapons, and they know how to use their best weapons as commercials. And there's nothing better when you have more than one superstar, and they definitely have more than one superstar, right? They got number 10 and this little guy right here, they're great tight end Kelsey, right? So, and yes, I know all their names. I just like them as numbers. So as they come through here, and then you got this obviously magical superstar there. There's so much going on right there at that point. There are too many things for a defense to figure out and for these linebackers to know what's going on, because you're trying to read what the offensive players are doing. And a H-back is like a lineman, so he's tight end lineman. Well, he's going this way. Linemen are going this way. The guy in motion is going back this way, but the quarterback and running back are going this way.
And one thing I got to add in here is that we have the luxury of this high view with all 22, but if you've ever been on a football field and played the game, you also know that if you're the linebacker trying to see what's going on back there, that's a whole wall of human beings blocking that's like a magician with his curtain with all this stuff happening behind. So you don't see Kelsey, what he's doing. You don't see what Cheetah's doing as he's going out there. So you're trying to figure out in the split second, all this motion and misdirection, yes. Where are they coming out from? And it just brings me back to Bellevue High School, who were the masters of deception.
Because you have rules on defense of who you're supposed to follow, and I've said it many times. Like your linebackers are reading the line, and they kind of mirror the line, and you teach that all the way through from youth football all the way into the NFL. You're teaching, you're looking for different things, different keys. They say read your keys. Well, sometimes teams do things that are the antithesis of those keys. So you mentioned Bellevue, who was famous for they became a nationally ranked team, famous for running the wing T. They broke De La Salle's 151 game winning streak. They were the first wing T team I had ever seen who literally would send guards 2 different directions. So that one guy would go one, and you've told your linebackers for years, read the guards. Both guards are always they're going to pull together. They're going to pull. If they counter, they do. And now you got guys both going, well, where are they supposed to go? Well, same thing here with Kansas City. They will send guys the opposite of where you're supposed to go when you've told your guys where things are supposed to happen. Here's the example. I'll show you what it usually looks like to a linebacker, and then later you're going to see a play, one of the other 3 total plays, where they show something different. So as a linebacker that if a guy's coming at you, or wherever the angle is, plays are designed to run behind players' rear ends. So linebackers should be able to see, unless they're blitzing, that these guys are blocking this direction, right?
Oh,
so
and switch back to the play.
Oh, sorry, my bad. So if they're blocking this direction, then that tells you that the play is coming back behind them. I mean, it's just teams aren't going to waste blocking for the most part, unless they run sort of a little trick blocking scheme. But most of the time, the offensive linemen tell you where it goes, and linebackers are so good at it. Like what makes Bobby Wagner great is he can recognize that if these three guys are blocking downhill a little bit, well, it's a play that's coming at him, but he can quickly see, well, if a guard is pulling, it means there might be some sort of a trap or something else, but it still means the play is coming behind here. Well, sure enough, that is where the play is going. But because of all the motions that take place and the movement and the respect you have to pay to everybody, there could be a handoff here to their quickest guy because they do that type of stuff. So you have to respect them. So that's why this kind of nickel player, because they have the extra wide receivers, he's standing here at linebacker. These guys have to go and respect that. So they're all going this way to cover it. You can see how the DBs here, watch this little crisscross that these two do. They're communicating. They've seen this motion before. So these guys are communicating what they're going to do if he comes back this direction, which he does. So by the fact that he's coming back this way, these two have communicated. Notice how that inside, he's actually more of a DB. Inside DB doesn't even bother looking at Kelce. He's not a responsibility. He's responsible for number one. He's responsible for number two because he's anticipating he's eventually going to be the two. Or they're reading it like, hey, if this guy gets the handoff or something else, let's treat him like he's the number one. So they're communicating, we've got this guy and this guy. We're not going to worry about Kelce. So as you see the play develop, these two guys do a quick crisscross type of action where they're basically letting him go.
Yeah, 2-4 is getting out there to take Cheetah in case he gets a flat or a handoff.
Yep, or to at least force the play back in, right? We always say never let a guy outside with all this speed, make him cut back inside. So look how many guys are respecting this right here. 3 guys are respecting this. Well, holy cow.
He's wide open.
So I wouldn't be surprised if in the Super Bowl you see this, except for anybody in America could see this. So, of course, Tampa Bay is going to look at this and go, well, hey, let's make sure we pay attention to this. But that means if one guy drops back, they got to pay attention to this. And what they do is they end up, running that little underhand shuffle play underneath.
And they've done that. They've done that before multiple times. That's not a new play. They've done that several times.
So here's how it develops. As you can see, the linemen are coming downhill, but this linebacker that they're going to get to block this, he ends up kind of taking a back alley move. So he moves back a little bit, which you just don't want your linebackers really to do. But he's just in a position where he's just kind of bouncing. He bounces right, and then he bounces back to the left, and you can see this left or right tackle. He thinks that this guy's going to go where he should. So they're ready to kind of cave the wall down because they have 73 coming around as well. They got 3 guys ready to take care of it. But by the time Kelce gets the ball, linebacker actually does a pretty decent job of getting all the way around that to get to it. But, if that's a middle of the field play, I think that's an explosive play. And they only needed to get the 1 yard.
That number 55, he was actually within arm's reach of possibly snagging that ball. He just had to, cover Mahomes, so he had him kind of outside. That, maybe if he got lucky or anticipated, he might have been able to snag that ball. But there's so many. Like I said, Mahomes, you got to cover Mahomes. All these stars, Mahomes,
exactly. He's left
Tyreek
unblocked.
Hill, Kelce.
So they're leaving him unblocked. They're not committing anybody to him. So as he starts to work his way up the field, that's what Kansas City's saying. They're saying, look, you cannot account for everything we possibly, because this is an option play.
Yeah, he can just run it.
Yes, he can throw it there, but it's a pass no matter what. So that means that if this guy comes released, he would have ran across the backside because Mahomes would have just kept sprinting out here. This guy could have been blocking. Maybe this guy's going to go out. So while the design of the play is obviously to throw it here, because it's a behind the line of scrimmage quasi screen, these guys aren't going to get down the field. It'd be incomplete if they dropped it. But they don't have to worry about down the field because it's quasi screen. But even if he chose not to do this, they're not going to be downfield far enough for a forward pass to be called an illegal pass. But they didn't block that defensive end because he does have to respect Holmes.
Right.
And I think they just figured, look, if you're going to pull him out, it's going to create a lane for you, Kelce. And my guess, if they're coaching him, they're going to tell Kelce, hey, you can't come back. The only negative on this play is Kelsey bubbles back behind. And I'm sure usually when you see this type of play, when Fitzgerald's run it a few times with Arizona, you come kind of straight down the line of scrimmage, and then you can do a little arc bubble at the very end. He does a pretty deep arc bubble there. But again, it's not about nitpicking the little thing there, even though I usually would. It's about who do you cover?
Yeah.
Like, holy cow. Like, you got, at least you got extra time to prepare for that. But it is just, that's what makes them so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then I go, hey, Mahomes, we're not going to work on 5 steps, 7 steps, sprint out. Can you go over there and just hang out with the punters and kickers and work on your underhand toss, or go to the officials and, kind of toss it back and forth with them? Who does that, right? And It's perfect. It's like, it is perfect. It's unbelievable.
Too good.
So,
yeah.
Too good on that.
So you got 3 plays total. So go to number 2.
Yep. We're going to go to the next one right here. So again, here's what you have. You got, again, they love to run the motion down there. So they've gone from a balanced set to an opposite set. So I brought this play up because it's a familiar play, ties back to Seattle. It's a play where you're motioning guy to a trips look, running a quick hitting slip to the outside, quasi bubble. How do they run it a little bit different? Well, because they're in tight compared to when we had the ball that was intercepted on the pick 6. We had our 2 guys out wide.
Out there.
That ball should have never been intercepted. Let's put that aside. So I'm not saying we should never run that play. It just wasn't executed correctly. But if you look at it here, Kansas City loves to run things out of these tight formations. They'll run 2 receivers to both sides. They'll run into these trips. And so I try not, when I'm doing coaches clinic and stuff, to get into 3x1, 2x2. You'll hear those phrases all the time. It confuses the heck out of people. So just because I'm not saying it doesn't mean I don't know it. I do know it, but trips, 3 receivers, 2 receivers to each side, pretty basic stuff. So they've motioned over to 3 receivers, but what they do differently than what we've usually done is they allow their blocking receiver to be in motion. So it's the blocking to where we had Metcalf. That allows him to get lateral quicker. And now look at that block. It's just easy. And that's a tight end getting out on a DB. Great block here.
One-on-one.
And again, short yardage. I love it. I love these plays, short yardage. These quick hitting. And again, Mahomes gets it out so fast. It's just boom, step. And again, the difference was when Russ did it, you could tell by his footwork immediately where he was going with it. While Mahomes gets it off quickly, he still takes 1 depth step, which is just enough to make you go, oh, he's dropping back. And then he looks over. And look at these guys over here. These guys still have to respect this. So this guy, he has to respect this run. So that pulls him. They just do such a great job with their schemes. The way they design their plays, and I'm not kidding you. I know that each game they could go back into their playbook, but I know that they're creating 10 to 15 plays that are new plays. Guys have to be so excited when they play in this offense. Like, they want to learn new. It's like, oh God, we're learning a new play. It's like, man, what is Bieniemy coming up with? What is Coach Reed coming up with? Because when you can design a play on the goal line that creates this type of situation where it's block, and just one of our best guys, one-on-one, we think you can beat him. We're going to trust that you can beat him, and look at all this space, and then we'll watch the film and decide, well, what can we design off of this based on how teams play us? Like, it's just great to see.
And it helps to have a quarterback who's so quick, so good at releasing the ball at almost every angle, and can also run anywhere on the field. It's a pretty nice switchblade of things to work with.
Like, you could just tell by his body language that there's a relaxed nature. When we're talking about these elite quarterbacks and where does Russ fit in the mold, and I'm not going to, get into that debate and those things, right? That was last week's talk a little bit, but you can just see an aura and a presence on how they stand, their presence, the calmness, and how everything is just fluid. Now, again, you've got weapons. You don't have people rushing your face. There's a reason why usually your best offensive lines are in the championship games. So, he's not worrying about all the things that Russ has had to worry about over the course of time. But even at this stage of his career, you can just tell he's calm. He's looking at things. Okay, it's ready to go. Get it, and boom. And it's just perfect. Because he works on all those type of passes that for years people were anti. Like, oh, you can't throw sidearm. You can't throw off your back foot. That's today's football. Today's football is athleticism and making your best players great and figuring out how to make them even better.
And he still had to make a quick throw because he had the corner blitzing off the edge. And if he waits just a split second, he could probably bat that ball down. But he gets it fast enough
It's
before.
so quick, and that's where that depth step makes the difference. When we do our every type of screen we run like this, the quick hit bubble screens or the slice screens or what have you, are all just usually grab and step hard to our left, meaning this foot's just planted and we just step. He takes that depth and then he takes a second step, so he's getting a depth and then another step, which is his plant foot, and then he's still at that 90 degree, right foot, left foot, boom, throw, and there's the quickness of it. So I love watching them play, just like most people do. But to me, I just like how they create so much space with how they're running things. Now,
all right, play number 3.
Yeah, play number 3. I got to admit, there was a play I think it was probably about 5 weeks ago that I said was arguably the greatest, most enjoyable play I've done since we were doing this. This one beats it. It's not even close. This play, when I saw it in the game, this was another stand-up moment for me, but it was like I had to play this back on the DVR and freeze it and then get us caught up with the commercials because I had to watch this so many times. I love offensive linemen, the pillars of power. Your lineman will take you so far. They talk about quarterbacks and everything else. So we're going to watch the play. You'll remember it's a long running play, but when you watch what really happened on this play, I mean, there's so many great things that take place here. Not less of which is 2 offensive linemen that are literally running, 60 yards down the field. So here's the thing. Remember what I talked about a player looking like he's doing something when you're trying to read the defense, you're trying to read the guards, read the tight end, read what have you. Well, if you're a linebacker and you're reading this line, here's what you're seeing. Okay. You're seeing a lineman and a line going downhill at an angle. So you mirror that. And you're also seeing a pulling guard. So right here, all of this looks like a counter that's going to come back. Running back, step into this side, going to run a counter because block down block, kick out block, and the slot or the H-back who was just in motion, he's also coming, similar like when Hollister comes across. So it looks like a traditional counter. Like 2 guys coming through, he's going to kick out, Kelsey's going to loop around, hand off to here, and then they like to do little fake things. Instead, watch what Kelsey does. So we're taking back just a tad here. So remember, Kelsey came from this side in motion. Now as the play starts, he's going to start moving back like he's running the counter. Nope, I'm not. I'm going to reverse pivot out. What that did was it set up this block right here. This guy has to respect everything he's seeing. So he has to respect it and step everywhere inside. And now he's able to get out and get this block right there taken care of. This was the key block to the whole thing. By getting this block, it allowed everything else to happen. But but now you get this. You got just this golden 3-on-2 by, it's not by running backs, it's not by receivers. You've got everything tight end and 2 linemen that you're saying, we trust that you can block the DB and the safety. And holy cow, if they don't do it.
That's a lot of beef. That's a lot of fast-moving beef going down the field.
Yeah. You remember the old Where's the Beef commercial? I saw that the other night. Where's the beef? So here's what it is from the, let me get to the end zone. Because this is where I absolutely loved it. Oh, actually, I didn't on this one. I'm not grabbing it. Yeah, there we go right there. So this is just a great, this is to me one of the most enjoyable plays I've ever seen from the end zone view because of the spacing, the gaps. And talk about perfection. At the high school and college level and a little bit the NFL level, you are constantly getting on your linemen for their splits. So every play you want certain splits. So the distance between center and guard and tackle, those are, what are your splits? Are they 2 feet apart, 3 feet apart? It's different depending on the play. I mean, you could pretty much tell that it's probably 3-foot splits. It looks probably closer to 2, but I mean, the splits are perfect. Splits are absolutely perfect. The stances are perfect. The way they move their feet, perfect. And now you can see Kelsey does his motion. Now look at it from a linebacker standpoint right there. If you've been taught to read the line and kind of see everything within a split second, remember what I said, you got linemen coming downhill, but you can see that a hat is quickly, you don't know who, but a linebacker can tell that a helmet, has crossed right behind the line in front of the quarterback. So that pretty much tells a linebacker 99% of the time that a play is coming. You don't look at the running back, hardly ever. You take a quick glance, but everything is told to you right up front here. So as they come through, this is telling all these guys are, let me look at them.
Yeah, he's ready for the counter right there.
The running play. It's exactly what they're expecting, but they don't get it. They throw the little pitch here, but this is where it's great. I mean, I don't think people out there understand how unbelievably awesome this is, because it's so out there for everybody to see, and you just don't get to witness this. This is taking interior linemen or taking linemen and saying, show the world how we communicate out where we can be superstars. We're going to be the divas. We're going to do our thing. Because watch the communication that takes place between these two guys as the play goes. He's pointing at, he's telling him who to block, and he looked back at him, right? He's telling him, he's looking back. Hey, you want a cheeseburger? I'll take a pizza. No, like, you get that guy. You look, and then watch how he sets it up. He moves at him to force him outside, which allows him to get the block. Now he's set himself up to make a block here. He gets pancaked. This guy will never want to watch film again with his coaches, because he's just going to get ripped apart. Like, you seriously got blocked by a lineman? Like, why didn't you 30 yards back down the field just try to run around the guy? No, he
did make the tackle, though. Despite all that, he did. 23 did make the tackle, so you got to give some credit for stopping the play. Otherwise, he's gone.
But you know what? He became a turf sandwich, man. He's got 350 pounds laying on top of the turf underneath. I mean, I'm telling you, this it's one of the greatest plays I've ever seen. Like, I can't wait to go talk at clinics. This might be the very first play I ever show. I mean, there's so much to be learned from this right here. When we talk about who are we hiring as a coordinator and what should Russ do and how we use our players, this is how you use your players. This is how you use your best players. And look at it's not even a lane. It's a freeway. And it just made them look silly. You knew the game was over here, and this is early on, but just the lineman communication, I'm just going to play it back just as regular speed. To watch the two linemen talk, look back and forth, how they adjust their angles, how he leverages them outside, how he gets them back to the inside. Man, oh man, it is so cool. And I've got just one last little part here on it, just because I thought it was neat the way they showed it. So this is a little tighter view that I was able to get in tighter here. You can just see how great, how hard those guys are running. Pancake block that I ended on right here. Boom. That's it. Yeah, Buffalo Bills. See you later. NorbCam exploding special.
That's good stuff. Yeah, and if you're 23 and you see those two guys coming at you, man, that is a tall order to try to take them on.
Your rules aren't. You're not supposed to run around a guy. Your instincts tell you can't run around him.
Yeah.
But your instincts also tell you, I'm a human being. I'm not gonna drive like usually you'd say, hey, create a pile. Like, that's a constant saying in football. Inside runs. Like, if you're, instead of getting pushed back on roller skates, just drop and create a pile, make everybody fall. Well, you don't want that big guy to fall on you. I mean, you still got to gotta go out that night and you got to go do your thing.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's crazy.
That was just a fun play. They're just fun to watch.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing more Kansas City ingenuity in this Super Bowl. See what plays they drop in the next couple of weeks. So, all right, well, we're time to the show where we're going to get to the near the end here and get a few more calls before we wrap things up. So I got Cameron Hughes on the line. So, Cameron, welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I have two questions, both about Bobby Wagner. Would you have rather traded Wagner in 2018 than Frank Clark and paid Frank Clark $20 million than Wagner's 18?
No, I'm gonna let you take a stab at that, and then I'll answer it.
If you're asking me, would I swap places and have kept Frank Clark and given up Bobby Wagner? The answer would be no. I would. Bobby Wagner is one. That position at middle linebacker for me is, while the pass rush is important, middle linebacker, I mean, he's the center of your defense and he's the captain of your defense. So you're giving away a lot more, I think, if I let Bobby Wagner go than gaining from what you get from Frank Clark. That's my own personal opinion. What about you, Coach?
Yeah, you build your defense inside out, and then middle forward, middle back. I mean, it is anchored right there, especially when the guy takes his jersey off and he knows that he's going to put on a yellow jacket here someday soon. So no chance on that one. I would absolutely keep Bobby. I love how he plays. I mean, he is a great player. to me, it's no question. I mean, I understand. I can see where you're asking the question, but part of me is just because I'm such a fan. But again, that middle linebackers, when you can shore that position up, you can do a lot of things. You can make up for a lot of stuff when that spot is anchored.
Yep.
And my second question, also about Bobby Wagner, there is a, well, I guess the first question, would you trade him at all throughout his contract with the remaining 2 years? So
I'll never say never. If you're a believer, as they say, if you're an old believer, the old Justin Believer, I would never say never from that standpoint, because if somebody throws, a bunch of first round picks or what have you, you always have to listen. But I think, kind of like Norb said, I mean, when you've done as much you've done for this city, if he wants to stay here, if he's still playing at an optimal level, he's still leading, he's still doing those things. A lot of times in sports, you don't realize what you have until it's gone, right? And so he's one of those players that I think once he's out of here, then that's when it's really going to hit us. I think the Legion of Boom left so quickly that we kind of saw it coming, because it was like boom, 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 and they all just kind of took off. So we didn't really have a chance to kind of, oh man, we really missed that one part of the Legion of Boom, like, because they were just kind of gone all of a sudden. But every once in a while you lose a player and you go, man, we talked about it, and was he that good or what have you? And then when he's gone, you see that, geez, it might be a long time before we get that spot. That could be really tough. So to say I wouldn't ever trade him, I wouldn't say that. But at the same time, it would take one heck of a deal to ship that guy out of here.
Sadly, the Legion of Boom, the reason why it felt like it's an early exit is because they all ended with injuries. Yeah. All on the Arizona Cardinals field, by the way. Earl Thomas broke his leg there. Richard Sherman tore his Achilles there. And Cam Chancellor had the career-ending injury on that field. That's why I can't stand that place.
Well, I thought Earl had hurt his finger, because he kept trying to show Pete Carroll that his finger was hurt when he was getting carted off the field.
Yeah. It was jammed or something, so he couldn't put it down. Couldn't bend it. All right, so good questions. Thank you, Cameron. Let's go to Nick LeBeau.
Yeah, great question.
Nick, you're up.
All right. So first off, how you guys doing? Great show so far.
Awesome. Doing awesome, Nick. Right. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Of course. So my
I gotta
question
get ready.
is,
I know when Nick calls, man. I gotta be ready for these questions.
Yeah, bring it.
Okay, so my question is, out of these 3 free agents, who would your most prioritized player be to re-sign? KJ Wright, Shaquille Griffin, or Chris Carson?
KJ Wright. I mean, I think again, I'm answering it based on what I think Pete Carroll and they are going to want. But I would still say KJ Wright, just because when you can anchor that linebacker group, it's hard to not do that. Love Carson, love to keep him. I think we have to have the running back, regardless of what we're saying about running game and running the ball. I am a Carson fan. I'm a big Carson fan, because again, that's one of those positions where if you don't have that shored up, that will hurt Russ. That will hurt our offense if we don't have that. So probably him number 2. And then I think at corner, like I'd really like us to really enhance ourselves. And that doesn't mean I'm not a Griffin guy. I mean, I like who he is. I like him as a player, but I still don't know that he's, I hope he hasn't peaked. I hope he has a chance to continue to grow, but that would be the order that I would go. I'm hoping that we can enhance ourselves and get better at the cornerback position, whether it's him getting better or what have you, but that's how I'd prioritize it. Specifically, it's more by position, I guess, than by player. Linebacker, running back, and then corner.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think KJ's earned a second contract. It may be different, of course, because I don't know how many years left. He definitely had a just a fountain of youth sort of year this past year, where everyone was kind of ready to kind of cast him off, and I think he showed the team in the league that he's got another year in him. How many more beyond that? That's a whole other question. But yeah,
and it's the second most important unit that you need continuity for rhythm. So offensive line is obviously the number one. It'd be great if you could keep 5 guys together. It's why, Walter Jones and Hutch were considered one of the best duos ever. And then, so when you get a line that can stay together for a while, same thing at linebacker, because of the timing of stuff, the way they flow, the fits, and it's such in tight space, you would think defensive line, but most people will tell you that, offensive line, you need that. And then linebackers are the group. So when you can keep 2 or 3 linebackers together over the course of time, because you know where each other, you know where they're going to be, you know how it's going to be spaced, you know, communication, you can communicate without talking, and I think that those guys have, something going pretty well. So, that's what another reason why I like to see that.
All right, good question. Let's go to our next caller. That's Dylan Tate, 35. Dylan Tate, 35. You there? You're a little muffled. Can hear you, but you're a little muffled.
Let me turn on my AirPods.
Okay, there we go. You ready with your question?
Nick LeBeau, if you have another question, because I think you had a third one, you can put it in the super chat if we don't get you back on.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Dylan.
All right, cool. So this offseason, what do you think we should improve on with the Seahawks?
Just in general? Getting our fans back into the stadium.
So we can get back to Super Bowl form, like Super Bowl, winning Super Bowls or trying to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I think we have to get better at our man-to-man defense. I'm not going to jump on the, offense needs to get better and Russ needs to get it. From a specific standpoint, I would like to see us become a much better man-to-man defense team, because offenses are just getting the hybrid way the offenses are evolving and how great offenses are becoming. Look at Kansas City. You can't zone up a defense. You can't put a zone defense against a group like that very often, because they're just going to pick you apart. So you got to have athletes that can just chase guys, be able to play them well, and then funnel them into spots where maybe an open, a free safety who's playing man free or whatever can pounce on something. So you can play really aggressive man to man, knowing that you've got some sort of help over the top, or you can play a cover 2 man where you got two safeties playing deep, but your 5 guys underneath, are playing tight man to man. That way, if they get beat behind, they know they've got that coverage behind them. Right now, we just don't have that. We haven't had that for a while, and I'm a fan of man to man defense. And I think it just allows you to blitz and be aggressive and do the things I would like to see us do. So that would be the area, if I had to pick one, to say, hey, if we're going to become elite, again, sans Russ having the great year and all those things, it would be, we are the best DB man-to-man defense in the league. That would put us right up there.
And that's what was so great about the LOB, is that we could have Earl Thomas by himself back there, Cam Chancellor in the box, and the corners on the outside, keeping things under control.
Do you think Earl Thomas doesn't get to that deep ball in the end of the first half in New England, or Tampa Bay? And so
he got to every deep ball, man. That's what's so special about him. The road runner out there.
Especially 25, 30 yards deep to start. He would have never let that happen. So that's
what was so cool about that defense, is we didn't have to play 2 high safeties. It was a standard to just have Earl Thomas back there. He had the entire back end covered. You forget how great that was.
Our man-to-man defense hasn't been good, since then. And I wouldn't even put it in the above average category. I think it's just been kind of average to maybe even below average at times. And that doesn't mean specific players aren't playing great at times, but just as a whole, I don't recall many games. Again, how many multiple pick games do we get where like the picks come at timely points, or we just look back and go, man, like they just can't get open. I feel like it was more like, is there a DB that's going to show up on the screen in this play? So that's a little bit of that's my biggest concern. It has been for a couple of years.
Yeah. It's just, we have moments, but it's just not consistent. So,
yeah.
All right, let's go to RG Pack-A-Lot. RG Pack-A-Lot, you're up.
Yo, what's good, Norb?
Hey, welcome to the show.
Coach Marsh, do you think they could host a film breakdown of Norb's Madden gameplay?
There's something very, very similar to that kind of in the works. So yeah, if people really want to see Norb break it, because I've seen it in the comments, I've seen it some other times.
We gotta get Norb some hope, man. We need to start getting him some wins.
I feel like it'd be more like doing a reaction video. I might as well just do a reaction video to watching Norb play. I think that would be more entertaining to you guys than me, trying to break it down or trying to tell him what to do. He's asked me to come be a coordinator for him. I think I should just watch him play and then just shred him when he does things bad, and then pick him up when he does things great and do. So yeah, we'll do some. I think we'll have some fun segments.
Well, some of the funniest stuff you did was when you did break down my not questionable play calling or execution of plays in Madden. So it's pretty darn hilarious. So
that's going to be one of the things I'm going to. When I start dropping videos, I'm just going to start finding Madden players around the country and just start breaking them down.
Be in the stream on one day when Norb plays Madden, and then you got to coach Norb on one of the drives and get a touchdown for him.
Yeah, but I always say that the best coaches are the ones that don't actually show you how to do the drill. They're able to coach you on how to do the drill. Same thing with, going on, public sector with Madden. All of a sudden I tell Norb, hey, I do this, and then there's an interception. My credibility's gone. The Seahawks light gets turned off, YouTube channel's gone, and I never hear from NorbCam again. So I lose all credibility. So I like this. I like this spot right here.
Well,
but I appreciate the comments.
Of course, you could call a perfect play, and if it's badly executed, then
and then it becomes coach quarterback problem, right? Like, I mean, you're the quarterback because you got the controller, so you're right. I could call the right play,
but again, the fact that
like Nick LeBeau does, just keep blaming you. Like, hey, look, no, I told you, but you didn't pray this, you didn't do this, you didn't wait, and and then blame the quarterback. Point fingers, right? Just point fingers. Right,
exactly. And that goes back to that whole NFC Championship game. Whose fault was it? LaFleur? Was it Aaron Rodgers? The difference is when I do Madden, you get to hear the headset because you're literally hearing the conversation, and we don't get to hear that when we see Rodgers and LaFleur out in the field. We'll have to just wonder what happened. But you know what I'm thinking? Somebody out there not on the team knows because they've mic'd these guys up. So somebody in NFL films, they probably have to sign very tight, non-disclosures agreement, probably has access to all the wireless footage and the recordings, and they probably hear everything the coach said, everything that Aaron Rodgers said, and they probably know a lot more about what's going on behind the scenes, but they'll of course never release that.
I don't remember there was a team a couple years ago that they were going to sue one of the other teams because they had received access to the mic'd up information, or someone had picked it up, and it was, they thought they maybe had the tapes, and the guy's like, oh, I know I didn't. I was just in there trying to get stuff. I wasn't trying to steal your mic'd up stuff, and he had access to it and everything. I can't remember who it was, but it was a huge ordeal. So yeah, I think of course there's somebody out there that knows it. I mean, it's it goes all the way back to Watergate and who shot Kennedy, right? I mean, somebody always knows. Well, when you see all the highlight footage and all the they got a camera on every person, and then if they're not shooting them in action, they're just shooting them talking on the sideline, talking about having Thanksgiving and all that stuff. So someone's recorded something that probably indicates I
what
wanted to be that guy that had, the big bubble,
parabolic microphone.
Yeah, I want to be the guy that just held that thing with the ear thing. Either that or the guy that gets to wear the orange. He goes
the clock thing.
He goes and cooks something for like 10 minutes, and they call him like, "Hey, we're having a TV timeout." So he just stands there like this for 3 minutes with the orange chef's mitt on, and then he's like, "Okay, let's go back. I'll go back and put my microwave pizza in," and he comes back running back out. So
they don't show that on TV. If you ever go to a live game, it's hilarious because you can't miss him. He's like one of those big windsocks that you see at the airport or something, but it's a human being. So when they say we're winding the clock, that guy's a bright orange glove. It's hilarious.
Well, it would be fun. I love going to games and I play a little joke on, right? Because they wouldn't recognize the guy who's standing out there with the orange mitt, out near the hash mark, way at the other end. And I'd say, he's going to blow the whistle. 3, 2, 1. He blow the whistle, having no idea that the official's standing there watching the guy with the orange mitt, waiting for him to just uncross his hands.
Right.
Blow the whistle. We're back on TV.
The fun stuff you don't see on TV. And when you go to the game, you also have to learn to watch the game. And there's no yellow line. There's no blue line. There's no graphic to tell you what's going on. So you do have to pay attention to more details. All right, let's get another call here. We got GG and R Gaming. GG and R Gaming. You're on the show. Hello? GG and R Gaming? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I guess he's not there. That gives us one last chance here. I know Nick LeBeau had a follow-up question. We'll give it to him right here. Nick, you're back. You had a follow-up question for Coach Marsh.
Yes. So my follow-up question is, you ranked the players KJ Wright, Chris Carson, and Shaquille Griffin.
Now, Nick, before you asked, did you ask it and then go research a bunch of data and stuff, and now you're coming back?
No, I did not.
Right. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
My question is, would you be willing to, say, re-sign Chris Carson and KJ Wright? Obviously, right now we don't have the cap, but would you be willing to cut someone or trade someone like a Carlos Dunlap or a Jaron Reed to, get enough room cap-wise?
Man, see, now you're playing general manager. And the tough part there is when you start talking about, like a Carlos Dunlap, because you don't, what type of player he is. It's can you get it out of him consistently from a standpoint of health, to see it all, because that's tough. Let me answer it this way. teams can do anything they need to make things happen, right? So any player now can go anywhere. When people talk about, well, how are they going to make that work? They don't have the cap space. Look, if the Rams want to get Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers wants to go to the Rams, it's going to happen. They're going to figure out a way. But then it becomes, what do you give up? What do you trade? All those different things you're going to do to make that happen. So, in your scenario, I don't know that I'd be willing to get rid of those, to cut a, Dunlap or what have you to make that happen. So that's a really tough question you pose there. But again, to keep those guys, I'm going to do whatever it takes to a point. But that might be the line that I'm not willing to cross. If it's, do I keep a Dunlap or not? I might keep him, and then you have to risk losing. I'm not going to lose KJ Wright. I'm keeping him. Like, he's signed. It's the Carson factor, and I have to weigh it with who can we get. Is there a draftable running back that we feel like can step in and make something happen? Is there a free agent that we can get, which I think there are. But again, I like Carson. He knows the system. He knows us. He doesn't know the new system yet. But he gets, he's got a relationship with the guys and those things. So tough trade-off.
It is, and it's going to be tricky this year with the cap not growing. It's going to be possibly shrinking. So John Schneider's got a lot of figuring out to do, along with Pete Carroll, and starts with that OC search, and then all the players in line after that. So, and thank you, Will, for subscribing.
Our head coach, at least our head coach, isn't telling guys we're going to, break kneecaps and break elbows, and
That was interesting.
That could have been Schneider. That could have been Schneider's guy if he went to Detroit. If he'd gone to be general manager there, and that's the guy. Like, here we go.
That is crazy. Well, it's definitely making a splash before he even gets to the first play. But I don't know if it's a good splash or not. But all right, well, Coach Marsh, I'd like to say that the show's not really ending. We're simply going to transition to another show. But before we do that, we are going to wrap up this conversation about the AFC and NFC Championship game, but I always want to give you, Coach Marsh, the final word.
Yeah, so just excited about this Super Bowl from a standpoint of I think we've had some duds in the past. I mean, last year it was nice to see Kansas City get in there and make things happen. It's always fun when you see a new team, but as much as people think whatever they want about Tom Brady, and maybe this has made the ref threw the pass, called pass interference, get him in there. To me, this is what I wanted to see. I would have loved to have seen Rodgers in there and stuff, but there's just so many compelling pieces to the story of Brady and Kansas City and all the stuff they're doing. So I'm looking forward to this Super Bowl as much as any Super Bowl I've ever looked forward to, considering we've seen some, again, Super Bowls that just don't pan out. I think this is going to be high scoring. It's going to be fun, all sorts of the fireworks, especially with everything we've gone through in the world, with the pandemic and everything else, to have a Super Bowl that I think people are excited about. They're going to be talking about it, and there's energy, and there feels like there's a kind of a passion for the NFL right now that makes it really cool. So excited about that. Excited, next week, at the latter part of next week, I'm going to kind of treat it like media week and media row. I'll be dropping out my first video. I might even do my own little round table-ish type of deal. So I'm excited about that. And I got one person to thank for it, man. And I'm looking right at him through the camera, and that's you. So, you've taken me on this really fun, magical ride, and my family's on board, and I'm connected with so many fun people, even from my past, that have reached out to me, that are starting to watch your show, and they're seeing me do this stuff. So just a fun time. I hope everybody out there is enjoying it. And even when you're saying stuff that you don't like, that I say things or what have you, I mean, I love it. I love it. I got thick skin. I know everybody's just being a fan and what have you. So I don't take stuff personally. If you don't agree with me, that's the beauty of it. I always say, if 10% of the people who are watching you or listening to you aren't disagreeing with you, you're probably not doing something right. So I feel like we're doing the right thing here, Norb, by putting something out there for people to enjoy and watch.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, for the props and everything, but I'm looking forward to your show when it finally launches. And I know it's been a long time coming, but I'm glad I got to be a part of that. And I know we'll continue to do our collaborations, but to see you do your own thing too as well, I can't wait to see what you got.
A long time is relative. I mean, it's really only been a couple of months, right? I think people sometimes spend a long time getting ready, but you were able to fast track me. I mean, like, I never would imagine that 8 to 10 weeks after we met that I'd become a YouTuber, that I'd be doing something, so this is just, it's very, very fun, just a ton of fun. So again, appreciate you and everybody that's helping me and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, can't wait. It's going to be a fun ride as we reach the end of the football season. It's just the beginning of yours and many more to come. So I can't wait. So I got to do a quick shout out again to my sponsor, Daniel Dovin of Dovin Real Estate. There he is. Again, a Seattle guy, Seahawks guy. So if you guys are looking for a house to buy or sell in the Seattle market, please give Daniel a call. You'll enjoy talking to him. He's a wonderful person and, like I said, diehard fan, but he'll take care of you in a fantastic way if you are looking to sell or buy a house. So check out his stuff in the description, the links in the description, and you will be entered into a drawing for a Cortez Kennedy rookie card just for talking to him. So that's a pretty cool deal. So I just want to let everybody know as this show is starting to wrap up, it doesn't have to be the end because you can click right over here and watch another episode, or you might click over here to watch one of our other shows coming up here to talk more football because it never ends. We are always talking more and more about Seahawks football. So Coach Marsh, thank you for joining me, man. It's going to be great and looking forward to the Super Bowl and a lot more videos we got coming up here with the roundtable, more reactions and so forth. But I want to thank everybody for joining and for everybody who's on the Super Chat, everyone who called in. Thanks for watching the show, and we'll see you at the next one. Take care and go Hawks.